Is it a man's fault if the woman he's with doesn't respect him?
I wouldn't say that it's his fault, but God would say it's his fault. Yeah, I don't believe in boyfriend and girlfriends, though. He can do whatever he wants with his body. That has nothing to do with me.
When I had sex with that other girl, I technically wasn't cheating.
At all. His body, what he's doing is none of my business.
Can you share a success story from one of your male clients about how you helped him overcome something that was holding him back?
My top 2 areas where I help men is getting married men more sex.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, very easy.
Oh.
So I've actually helped a lot of clients break up with their girlfriends. Like
You know people do that too?
I do.
Hey.
When we hear the scripture, he that findeth a wife, it's not a one-time thing. The thing that a man has to be ready to do as being a husband is to find his wife all over again and over again. Oh, it's been 5 years, you got to find her again.
Do you think it's a mistake for a guy to place value on a woman strictly for her looks?
Yes. Women inherently are very nasty to themselves. If men could hear how a woman talks about her body just by looking in the mirror.
When a girl says she likes makeup, hair extensions, whatever it is we use to enhance beauty, like, would she really like those things if those things were never introduced to her life in general? How do you help men know the difference between someone who's fun to date versus someone who's a wife material?
A man could have fun with a woman, he's not safe.
He's not safe.
He is not. You're awakening emotions and love in her that you have no intention of cultivating. That makes it dangerous.
Welcome back to another episode of Halfway Up Podcast, and I call it Halfway Up Podcast because you're never finished rising. And today, I got a very special episode. I got a very special lady, a professional, a woman who cares about the people.
100%.
Man, so before we get into this, I saw you on you were a guest on a couple people's podcasts, and being 100% honest with you, I was very impressed.
Thank you.
And I really appreciated your takes and your perspective on things. It was very refreshing. It felt very organic, and it was nice because obviously I think men and women both feel like they're on opposite sides of our phones on using Beyonce's internet, but we feel like we're always being attacked. You know what I mean?
100%, right.
Men feel like we're being attacked. Women feel like they're being attacked. Whenever you see somebody who delivers information right down the middle in a very unbiased way, it feels nice.
Thank you for noticing that.
Yeah, it felt nice. You know what I mean? I was genuinely impressed. Like, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but a lot of the time when I be doing these shows, I be one ear in, one ear out. You know what I mean? But like, and I might have started whichever show that you did, I might have started the session like that. But somewhere in the middle, you grabbed my full attention. I was really dialed in though.
That's
you know,
that's the first time I'm hearing this, so thank you.
Absolutely.
So.
And so I reached out to you once before trying to set it up. We were trying to get the scheduling together, and then you double backed and you reached out, which I really appreciate you doing that because it was just perfect timing. I hadn't dropped the episode in a minute because I'm in a place where I don't want to just drop episodes just to say I'm being consistent. You know what I mean? Like I would love for it to be something that's powerful enough to resonate with people, and I want it to be like substance filled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
totally.
Without further ado, thank you so much
for
being here.
Me.
I have some questions that I think are going to be very, very interesting. They're going to be very engaging to the people. But without further ado, could you please explain to the people who you are? You can look right into your camera.
Absolutely. First, I want to say thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
For sure.
I remember that day too, and you were like,
yeah, for sure. Nah, genuinely. I was like, oh, she's saying some shit. Hold on. Yeah.
Thank you. I just want to also say thank you so much for acknowledging the down the middle part, because a lot of times people think that I'm either pandering to women or pandering to men. And it's just like, I really see the unity and the harmony that is available to us. And my goal is, it just depends on how the question is phrased, right? Because I'm going to answer it as such. So I appreciate that notice.
For sure, yeah.
But without further ado, my name is Cassandra. I go by Ask Miss Cassandra on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, X. I am a life and relationship coach and a men's advocate. I absolutely am very interested in understanding the experience of men when it comes to life, love, longevity, their goals. And I really do support men around their just emotional well-being and being able to command the life that they desire to live.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
We don't really get to see women advocating for the betterment of men often. I think there are a lot of good women, great women in every city, every corner of America and the world that do. But from the professional level, and then to be making content and branding yourself from it, I think that's very bold. I'm sure you get a lot of women who, like you said, you used the word pandering a minute ago. I'm sure there's a lot of women that be like, sis, like, you're not holding us down. You're supposed to be speaking for us. You know what I mean? And yeah, so I think it's very honorable that because it takes courage to do what you're doing, knowing that you're walking into a den of lions that's like, no, they don't need any more help. You know what I mean? How do you feel about that? Like, one thing women say is like we living in the patriarchy, which I don't, that's true, right? You know what I mean? But like, they come from this angle where it's like they don't need no more help. This era, this generation is all about what we need. It's all about helping us get some more points on the board. And then for you to be out here advocating for for men, excuse me. What is that experience like when your sisters is giving you like unsavory energy?
So to be fair, I get that from both women and men.
Really?
Yeah. So from the religious men, and I say religious because they'll come out with the scriptures like women are supposed to be like, what are you doing talking to us?
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They'll bust out the scriptures where Paul says that a woman should be quiet in front of a man, like don't speak.
That's what Paul said.
How they're translating interpreting it, and I understand all of that, but there are countless records in the Bible that also shows women in their power. There are countless. It's hard to say that you want a woman in your life if you believe that her role is to be quiet, when there are lots of examples in the Bible that talks about the power of two voices united. So if I'm quiet, where's the unity?
Yeah.
If we go by the scripture, he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing.
A good thing, right.
How are you interpreting what a good wife is? Is she quiet?
Yeah.
Because we need our voices combined so that we have that agreement, because one could put 1,000 to flight, but two can put 10,000 to flight. So the exponential experience is something that happens in unity, whether that is in marriage or just in community. But I get it from both sides. But when women do it, I realize that they're sometimes not really listening. So I remember there was a video where Nick Cannon was talking about him being married to Mariah and how hard it was for him. And everybody was like, he's insecure. And I'm just like, I'm not saying he's insecure or not, but I didn't hear that in that particular clip.
Right.
What I heard was a very honest account of a man being older and being vulnerable, reflecting on what it felt like as a young person, not really having something to contribute of substance into the relationship. And he didn't want to be Mariah's husband. And I think that's dope.
Yeah.
That speaks to, it translates to how he's shown up career-wise. Now, what he does relationship-wise is a whole nother story, right? And I don't agree with that. But in terms of his professional acumen, he was married to a superstar and he wanted to make his own name. And I do not interpret that from a man's lens as him being insecure. Some women would, because it gives off the appearance that he had everything. But just because he failed as a husband doesn't mean that she was a good wife.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's that assumption that when a man holds himself accountable and he refuses to tear down his woman, that means that she was great at what she did as a wife.
Right.
And I don't know Mariah. I'm not saying that she was a great wife or not, but I'm not there to judge that he dropped the ball on this amazing woman. I don't even know her.
Yeah, if I can, I think the assumption that women make is that like you got Beyonce, like you got J-Lo, you got Rihanna, like what else could you want?
That? Yeah.
I understand that her shit stank too.
Correct.
You know what I mean? She come with her imperfections just like I come with mine. And more importantly than what she come with, Nick being honest with himself.
Correct.
And being like, you know what? The vision of the type of man that I would like to be, I don't know if I'm fitting in that image right now, because right now she's such a conglomerate. She's just such a gigantic entity in this world that just by default, like they say there's no such thing as 50-50. You got to get in where you fit in. So he fitting in with her star energy, but he wants to be the star. He wants to be the head of the household. And I think that he does everybody a better job by being honest about that than being quiet and then continuing to grow resentment underneath her shadow. You get what I'm saying?
Sir?
Like he doing everybody a favor.
He sure did. He had a Simba Mufasa moment with her. His paw print stepped inside of hers and he was like,
no shit.
Damn, you. Well, now I can't wait to be king.
Yeah.
Right? And he, Mufasa had to go.
Yeah.
So, Simba could go ahead and be with Timon and Pumbaa and be in places that he have no business eating grub and eating things and consuming things.
Right.
He didn't have no business eating as a lion.
Right.
He went through his journey, and I'm sorry, but for those of you who are not happy with Nick is not done yet. We are not ingredients. We are not a cake. We don't just put all the ingredients together, put in the oven, and come out done.
Mm-hmm.
He still got breath in his body. He still has opportunities to grow, to evolve, to check
Absolutely.
himself. And,
Absolutely.
provided that there's still breath in his lungs, we get to watch the evolution of his masculinity.
Absolutely.
And I will give him that. I have, really strong boundaries and lines of demarcation around his concept of family. I do not subscribe to that, but I'm not
Mm-hmm.
about to tear his entire character.
Oh yeah, you should
Because
not.
no, that's
Nobody should. This
yeah,
is a good man. He's great for our culture. He
yeah,
contributes a lot of great things to our culture.
yeah,
Gives people jobs, make sure
yeah,
people get paid,
absolutely,
make us look good. He ain't out here. It's way worse people out here making
yeah,
us look crazy.
absolutely. You know what I'm saying? So I can't say whether he's good, he's bad. I don't know him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think that the culture is addicted to finding a flaw and amplifying it. And I'm just not really gonna do that. I'm
Yeah.
gonna take something at face value and say, hey, he
Mm-hmm.
acknowledged that he could not see himself expanding
Mm-hmm.
because she was so big.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why or how, but I just Ray Charles could have told her, baby girl, we can
Yeah.
see.
That's
What are you doing?
He's not the man for that. You know what I mean? And then he gets out the way so Mariah can get one step closer to find the man that is. You know,
Correct.
like there's a guy out there that'll be like, babe, be this, be
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? Whatever role you need me to play, it doesn't make my masculinity feel different.
Right.
We're not a monolith. We're not all the
Correct.
same. And the internet is just so quick to point the finger because it's hurt people, bro. At the end of the day, you know what I mean? Like the internet is a bunch of hurt people that's just getting their shit off real quick, not holding themselves accountable, not holding themselves to any metric of emotional intelligence. It's like, hold on, gang. Because like if Nick was right here, you wouldn't say that to him.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I use my internet the way I use in real. I'm not saying nothing I wouldn't say to nobody in real life. It's just it's just not in me. But like skating past Nick real quick, I would love to know what caused you to get into this in the first place. Like, how do you even get to this place where you feel like, you know what? Like, I want to dedicate some of this good energy that God blessed me with to helping and affecting, creating a change. Like, how did we get here?
Excellent question. Long story short is God arrested my attention and pivoted it towards men. But the first time that I ever heard anything about this was when I was about like 13, 14. I remember my cousin. So I grew up really close with my cousins, and there was 3 boys and 1 girl. And the one girl, she lived the typical life that most girls get to live, which is we get to live in an androgynous kind of life. I can wear pants, I can wear a skirt.
Right.
I could put on a tie, I could put on some bows. And her brothers were kind of struggling with that in a conversation. And he wanted to get some hush puppy sneakers or something like that, if I remember correctly. And the daughter, the one girl, was just like, I want some too. And so the brother was like, no, like when you get your shoes and you get your dolls and you get this, I can't play with none of that, but you get to play with your dolls and my Nintendo and you get to play with my action figures. But if I pick up your doll, it's an issue. And in that moment, I heard like the Spirit of the Lord tell me, I'm going to teach you how to help men to be men and women to be women, just like that. That was like in the 90s where roles were very well defined. That meant nothing to me at all. I just said, okay, naturally, like, okay. Because my concept of what that meant, I just thought, we're just going to be talking about like husbands and wives, whatever the case may be. But now fast forward to today, God was just the only wise God.
Yeah.
He knew what he was talking about. Our roles are not defined. And as a result, we don't really understand, how to be most efficacious to one another and how to pick from that space.
That's a beautiful word. Efficacious. Yeah.
Yes. And so what happened for me tangibly in my life, right? Because now we're coming from like a spiritual, 5D level and now talking about my 3D experience. I had to learn what feminine and masculine energy meant because the way I was showing up, I was married before, the way I was showing up in my marriage, the way I was reacting to my husband, it didn't land well. It didn't work well for our marriage. And we had all of the boxes checked, right? He's my first, my only, my everything. We're both Haitian. We were both Christian. We had similar values. How do we not work out?
Right.
It made no sense. It was just like, no, this was supposed to work out. And I realized that there were, I choose to not really talk about the parts that didn't work for my husband because I think that's his business, right? And I respect him.
Absolutely.
We have a child and things of that nature. There were some things that I think had gotten in the way that had the adults around me knew what it really was like, we would have never gotten married. Because those things, although those existed, there were some undercurrent things that were happening that it would not provide a safe environment for me to really bloom and blossom. But I was none the wiser.
Yeah.
So when it finally
How could
began
you know?
to end, there was no way
How
for me
could
to
you
know.
know?
Right.
Yeah.
So when it finally ended, it was just like, but I still love him.
Of course.
Isn't love enough?
Yeah.
And then I started to learn about feminine and masculine energy. And in my championing feminine energy, it's like as if God was just like took me by my chin and was just like, here.
Yeah.
Like
do
I was
this.
looking over here for
Over
feminine
here.
energy. And he was like, look here.
Mm.
And when I started to learn about masculine energy and looking at it from a social science perspective, because that's where my education comes from, I realized, oh, we done fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
We failed y'all as a society. Y'all need help. This is not fair. We've given men such a heavy mantle to carry without resources, training, mentorship, guidance, leadership. Like, so you turn 18 and you're supposed to produce?
Right. Provide?
Where do we do that at?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I could never expect somebody to perform perfect heart surgery on my heart without schooling.
Yeah.
Without being poured into, invested into.
Yeah. There's wisdom that needs to be had here.
Yeah, there's wisdom and experience and application and somebody, a bigger voice, right? A teacher, professor from behind you telling you what to do, correcting you, course correcting you, right? Beyond just letting you make some big mistakes, but course correcting you in the moment. Whoa, you're about to cut that aorta right there. And that's not what we do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't happen for a lot of guys.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we expect him to just turn around and output a beautiful family, make 6 figures, got all the sixes, 6 feet, 6 figures, like, and a 6-pack, right? Like, how?
Yeah.
It doesn't fundamentally work that way.
So you're speaking to a grace that you learn to extend. Yes.
It's 2 parts. We can only give grace to a certain level before we cause our men to rot. And that's when some people get mad when I address men and they think that I thought you was on our side. I am on your side. Right? The same way.
So much so that I'm dealing with them to be
Correct.
right for us.
Correct. So much so that, like, just like from my child, I love her. So if I see her about to run in the street and I see a Mack truck down a block, I don't care if it's not on the block yet. Hey, did you look both ways? My voice is going to be commanding to
Stern,
like, And so for men get grace and they need direction. So where I come in is I support men around having a better understanding of feminine energy, because there's a lot that men don't understand about women, and a lot of men aren't able to provide that for men to understand because they themselves don't know. They don't understand it either. So I kind of help men answer the burning questions like, why do women do this or why do women do that? I give them the biopsychosocial, emotional, spiritual components so that they have understanding. So because, in all you're getting, get understanding. So that's how God is using me.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Why do you think women struggle with extending this grace to men? Because you coming from a place, it's a lot of wisdom in everything that you just said right here. You spoke about in the 90s that God spoke to you. So you've been interpreting the voice of God for a long time.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So you have a special relationship with God. Some people's relationship with God is not that developed yet. Maybe never will be. You know what I mean? So you're different. You know what I mean? You was already born with a little bit of something extra to use to your disposal. But for the rest of the women, like, why do you think, not the rest of them, but the women that deal with this, why do you think they struggle with extending this level of grace? Because clearly you could see, like, okay, like, maybe you're this way because your dad, because your mom, the neighborhood that you grew up in, the lack of mentorship, you can see that. Why is it that it's some people they can't see that far?
Sure.
Like, what is that about?
Well, before I answer, let me ask you this. Do you have, like, women friends?
Yeah.
And they're transparent with you?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard them talk about themselves to you?
Yeah.
Do you think that they talk about themselves with grace? Are they harsh with themselves? Like, what's been your experience?
Definitely not. No grace when they're dealing with themselves.
Okay.
So then how could they be that way with somebody else?
So you see how I work with men? I provide, like, y'all have the answers. It's just we got to kind of have a perspective shift. Women inherently are very nasty to themselves. If men could hear how a woman talks about her body just by looking in the mirror, y'all will be floored because you'd be like, I like that part of you.
I believe that.
Right? Like that. You don't like that about you? I need that.
Yeah.
Fupa.
Yeah.
Let me get it.
Niggas like things. I tell women all the time, men like things. You think, oh, my ear's too big. My likes that.
Right.
Something about that turn him on and get
Something
him going.
about turn him on.
Yeah.
Right. And we just nitpick so much. And we are the chihuahuas in the, if we're going to talk about, like, I love dogs. I ain't trying to call nobody no bitch. I ain't trying to call nobody, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying I love dogs. But in the dog kingdom, we would be the chihuahuas and y'all would be like the Rotties, the Rottweilers or whatever.
Right.
And the chihuahuas bark a lot because they're the weaker vessel. They're vulnerable. They got to make a big stink.
Mm-hmm.
And the Rottweilers who command space, control, they don't really feel the need to complain as much.
Mm-hmm.
There's also some biological, hormonal, chemical things that happen as well. But in terms of like size and the way that we feel in terms of how we take up space in the world, we're scared. You know what I'm saying? We're scared. So we're critical because we're trying to do everything except hurt.
Can I ask you real quick?
Mm-hmm.
You just spoke a minute ago about like if men could hear the way women talk about themselves, it would floor us. Why is that a thing?
Why do women talk the way that they talk to the internal dialogue?
Yes, like how does the internal dialogue, because as a woman, a lot of woman friends throughout your life, so this is like something that you just know throughout your life. Like we as women sometimes, we don't do a good job at like talking to ourselves the correct way.
We don't know that.
They don't know that?
No. We're not consciously aware of it because it's happening on a subconscious level.
That's deep.
That's why I asked you, have you ever heard them say it, right? Because you would be that container for them to go ahead and speak about the things that's ruminating in their minds on autopilot. It's like an app running in the background.
But the subconscious, like, it gets implanted in there somehow, though. Like, do you have any idea?
Like the origination of it? Like,
yeah, like how does that, like from, like you said you have a child, right? So it's like from your child being born into this world, as perfect as they need to be. You know what I mean? How does this get implanted in the subconscious mind?
Sure. So this is where the hormonal conversation comes in.
Okay.
So testosterone is a hormone that provides energy, confidence, and y'all just have much more of it. That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
Just because I got more testosterone?
Yes. Have you ever watched a gentleman transition to becoming a woman and taking estrogen and things of that nature? His personality, emotions change.
I wouldn't. Sometimes I wouldn't even know if he didn't say nothing.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Right.
Didn't say nothing.
Right. It fluctuates. So the hormones do make a difference. What makes it complicated is because, unfortunately, we don't come with hormonal thermostats. I can't tell when my estrogen is higher or my testosterone is higher or what level I'm at. So I just function every single day not knowing what's being changed. But if we had that luxury of being able to see, oh, her estrogen is a 70, no wonder she's thinking like this, versus when she's ovulating, her testosterone is a little bit higher and she's more confident and sexy and cool and her cheeks are rosier and things are perkier. Oh, well, of course, she must be ovulating. We cannot see this internal battle.
Especially not at least right away.
Not right away.
You don't detect it right away.
Right.
So my theory on this is I think that the way a lot of humans get to where they get is through conditioning. It's like small steps over time that kind of like, small drips. Eventually it fills the bucket, it gets heavy, right? I think that's what happens to a lot of us. I think that women, if they are in a place where their inner dialogue is just really not conducive to anything progressive, I think a lot of it just comes from the conditioning of America and the beauty standards of America. And like everything is about $1 at the end of the day, right? It's like, why do we enforce beauty standards on women? It's because it's like, like women are big consumers, you know what I mean? We're gonna give them an ideal version of what beauty is so that we can play on their insecurities or whatever word, you know what I mean? So they can spend money to do whatever it is they got to do to try to become that.
Yes.
And
I love that.
Yeah, so because I see that a lot, like, growing up with my sister's a year younger than me. And, at one point you just brother and sister, you just boy and girl. And then you eventually, and the same thing with boys too, like we start to see other men out in the world. We want to emulate them because we think that they're cool. We think that's the next step to becoming a man. I watched my sister start to want to bring different things into her orbit. Like, you know what? Like, I want to show my stomach now. You know what I mean? Like, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to wear a skirt now. You know, I want to wear
Mm-hmm.
makeup now. I want to
Mm-hmm.
wear lipstick. When really, I think to myself, when we say we like when a girl says she like lipstick, and this is no shot to makeup or none of that. This is no shots, but it's like when a girl says she likes makeup, when she says she likes hair extensions, whatever it is we use to enhance beauty, like would she really like those things if those things were never introduced to her life in general?
Right.
You know what I mean?
The answer is no. So this is where like the semantics and there's like context and
Mhm,
contents, and that's when things can get a little bit confusing. And a lot of people use circumstantial examples to either support an argument or
mhm,
to dismantle an argument. And at the crux of the matter, right? So we can talk about the roots of something, but then there's so much, depending on how much it grows, there's so much more, right?
right, so
You can
much.
have you can have the tree and the branches and the leaves and all these things, and if there's fruit on it, and then it gets intricate. So yes, there is social conditioning, and when that social conditioning meets the operating system, it does output something
Mhm,
that looks different. But it's because there is this operating system that pre-exists.
exactly.
So that pre-existing operating system is the propensity for women to be self-critical.
Is that Does that come from patriarchy?
No,
Okay.
that comes from the hormonal experiences of being a weaker vessel.
Mm,
It's a worry,
they
it's a
ain't gonna
worry
like that.
system. It's not, but it's true. It's a worry mechanism, and it's there to help us. So how it would serve me is by me being a weaker vessel and me being very critical. It'll help me if I'm in the forest to pay very close attention to my surroundings if there's no masculine energy there.
Mm,
I need to be able to judge and assess that this is not safe, 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 this is not good, this is not good,
mhm,
because I am vulnerable. My frame, my body is weaker, my strength, my capacity is weaker.
mhm,
Whereas when a man is around, doo-doo-doo-doo, that turns off
mm,
because there is a presence, there is a strong presence that arrests my need to be hyper vigilant.
mm.
That is the pre-existing
Yeah,
operating system.
yeah.
Now, when we have social conditioning in terms of being picked, right, because women desire connection,
Mhm,
our social conditioning is telling us this is what you need to do in order to be picked. So, being picked in today's society does not require purity and modesty.
mm,
Being picked visually speaking, right? Because there's a visual component that's being output on the screens, and then there are men's internal desires and experiences which are less spoken of.
mhm,
What that means tangibly is what we see on TV is that the women who are being seemingly treated well, wined and dined and getting these great experiences are the ones that got the BBL and the pixie haircut and the midriff and the
yes,
heels.
yes.
But we don't really see the women who are modest getting that treatment.
Mm,
So if you want certain experiences, if you want to have an expanded view and
yeah,
experience,
right.
then you have to dress that way. But if you want to be modest and in a home
Mm,
and kind of like a lower level citizen, then dress like that.
mhm,
But so when that's what what we're seeing, and so if I want to be picked and I want to have an experience, I want to enjoy life, I want certain pleasures with life, then those two things are going to get married, they're going to align together, and the output of it is going to be promiscuity.
mm,
Some people are being conditioned to be modest because if you're not modest, we will cut you off from our family. There's
mm.
going to be some sort of a
It's
consequence,
true.
right? Or you will be considered a whore. Nobody's going to
Right,
want you.
right.
So when you
That's
have those
true.
two things, her modesty does not mean that that's her natural mode.
Right,
That is a method of survival.
right.
And she just happened to have another conversation around conditioning for one purpose, and that's to be picked
Mm,
because that's where we are safe to be in community.
mm,
So it's just according to how society decides to set up the community. Right now, at large, in the social media sphere, being picked community is salaciousness, lasciviousness, and
right.
prostitution.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that's why it looks like that. So it's
Wow.
yeah, it's just a consequence of how we our social construct, but it's coming from, you understand, the
Yeah.
operating system,
Yeah, for sure.
and that's not going to change.
Listen, actually want to go way deeper into that, but I have some questions. I
Yes.
got a couple of questions that I think are going to be really good. I think people are going to
Awesome.
really enjoy these. I think you're going to kill these. You know what I
Awesome.
mean? Like my whole thing is I just want to throw it up. I want to see
Right.
you off the backboard. You
Let me
know what I
get that
mean?
assist.
Yeah, for sure. So The first question I want to ask you is, what's the one question every man should ask himself before deciding to marry someone, in your opinion?
Yep. I think the number one question that a man should ask himself is, do I know what it means to be a husband?
Mm-hmm.
He has to define that for himself. You cannot depend on a woman to inspire you to be a husband. You cannot hope that somehow some woman comes and saves you from from being single.
Yeah.
You have to be clear on what your standards are as a husband, and am I ready to walk in that? Because it's a heavy load.
Yeah.
And ain't nobody finna help you.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of men, what not just men, but a lot of people, like in this because the context right now, as we're talking about husbands, we're talking about men, is I want a wife.
Mm-hmm.
But do you want to be a husband?
Right.
I want some kids, but do you want to be a daddy?
Yes.
Or are you trying to be a father?
Yes.
Right? We got to get clear on what that looks and what that means to him.
Yeah.
So that will help him. That'll assist him in picking the right person.
Yeah. I hear a lot of married men and married couples say that it's important to know that once you get married, you know what I mean? It's no longer about you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about you anymore. And I think that that's the concept that people don't nearly delve into.
Yeah, no.
They don't stay there long enough because it's like, really understand, bro, once you become a husband, it's no longer about you. Like, you signing up for a life of serving. Sacrificing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Putting somebody before you. Even when you really want to do something, you have to keep them into consideration at all times. And that's work.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's not as, I don't even want to say it's not as sexy, because I think it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, we got to change how we see sexy, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we got to reframe how we see
that.
it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think that that's something that a guy should think about. I'm not married. I've never been married, but like you study people, you know what I mean? And you learn through them vicariously. And like one thing you got to just understand is, like, before you cross that line and make that union between you, your woman, and God, understand, like, am I willing to put my old ways behind me? You know what I mean? Because if you're not, you got to really ask yourself that, bro. It's like, are you willing to come home to somebody who might hold you accountable for some shit?
That part.
I might not even want to hear no shit like that. Like, bro, I don't. When I come home, I don't want nobody to hold me accountable for a house I pay rent in.
Right.
Well, then maybe you're not ready to be a husband, bro.
Exactly.
You keep her as your girlfriend. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because you can walk away. Technically, maybe y'all don't live together. Maybe you do, whatever. But it's like, you don't have something binding y'all together.
Yeah. I don't believe in boyfriend and girlfriends, though.
You know what? This is such an interesting concept. Yo, when people say this, please break that down for me.
I believe in friendship, engagement, and marriage.
So are you saying that if if they are not married, right? But in their mind, they say they're boyfriend or girlfriend. If he cheat on her, that's not really cheating. If he step out in a relationship, that's not really cheating, because y'all haven't made that union between God and this contract.
Well, he's cheating on somebody. It depends, right? Because I'm a Christian woman, so my framework is all under the bounds of Christianity.
What the Bible says, yeah.
Correct. So the word of God says, even if a man looks at a woman in the wrong way, he commits adultery with his eyes and lust, right?
Yikes.
So he's cheating in some type of capacity. The best thing that we can do for society is to teach self-mastery for women and men.
Come on.
That's the best thing that we can do, and that self-mastery will take you a long way, because what sin does, right, a break in belonging from God, it will put you to sea, and you'll drift further than you wanted to go.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever been in the middle of the sea before. I have. Baby, you don't see land to the left, to the right.
Shit get real.
Woo!
Yeah,
you're like,
shit get real.
Hey, where my feet gonna land? And that's what happens when you become disconnected from self-mastery. You drift out further than you wanted to go, and you don't know how to get anchored and grounded.
Yeah.
You want to be on solid ground.
Yeah.
So, can a man, if a couple is not a couple,
they're not married,
then my thing would be, well, how would she even find out that he even slept with somebody?
I mean, I think beside the point, she does, though. You know what I mean? Like, what if it's so, like, if he going off that logic, right? Of course,
So what are they? They're friends at this point, or are they engaged?
They boyfriend and girlfriend.
Okay. Well, listen. So we got to compartmentalize the conversation,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Because in the paradigm of boyfriend and girlfriend, that is a we are renting.
yeah.
So the question is, can I dent a car that don't belong to me? The answer is yes.
Right.
So can a man or woman cheat on somebody when they're just renting each other?
Right.
And can you dent them? Yes, you can.
Does she still have a right to be upset even though that's not her husband?
Because but does the manufacturer have a right to hold somebody accountable for denting a car that they rented? When you love people, you have the intention of leaving them better than when you found them. And infidelity, if people understood what infidelity does, then they had empathy, then they wouldn't do it.
Because even if, let's say, like, we're going off this logic, right, where it's like there is no boyfriend and girlfriend, it still speaks highly of you what you do to prove your case to be one, though. You know, it's like, okay, like, you're not my husband, so it's not really nothing for real, right? But at the same time, it's like, if you're trying to be my husband, though, you cheating and you having these lusty eyes and you having this activity you doing behind my back or in front of my back, you know what I mean, that I don't respect that. You know what I mean? That's not giving a good case for me wanting to go the distance with you. You know what I mean? So it kind of applies the same way. It's like whether boyfriend, girlfriend or not, it's like, how much do you respect me and what type of position do you want to have me in your life? You should probably move accordingly to such thing.
Absolutely. You should move accordingly. My question is like, can you run that framework back? Because I'm trying to pick up what you're putting down in terms of, like, it should show what type of proof. Exactly.
So, because I'm going off of the framework that you said, it was like, it's either marriage or it's nothing.
Correct.
Essentially what you're saying. Right? And I'm saying that even if we're going off that, because I know a lot of guys will hear that and they'll just be like,
that's impossible.
Right. Right. They'll be like, that's impossible. And then they'll also be like, well, when I had sex with that other girl, I technically wasn't cheating, babe. You know what I mean? I technically wasn't cheating.
But they have to both agree that they are not dating.
They're dating.
Okay, then if they're dating, then you can't fall under my paradigm, because my paradigm says that doesn't exist. So what that would look like is two people being friends and he has sex with somebody. That ain't none of her business. That's why I said, well, how would she find out?
They're not gonna like that. But if she, okay,
y'all
so it's not. So they're dating.
You're not dating. You're not dating. If I'm not, the implication behind dating is that you belong to me in some case without me having to make a full investment. I get to rent you.
And the full investment is marriage.
Marriage.
Right.
Right. When I rent anything, I'm still responsible when I stain it.
Right. So isn't him cheating him being responsible for him, because he's renting her heart, her feelings?
Correct. That's why I don't agree with dating. Because you got to return it.
Oh, you don't agree with dating?
No, I don't. I agree with courtship, friendship, engagement, and then marriage. So what this would look like in an ideal world. I'm not saying that people are doing this. It's just, this comes from my studies and paying attention to certain things and seeing where we fall as a people.
Right.
Is I would date a man, right? Like, I would date a man, or pardon, I would be friends with the man, and we're friends and we have the same purpose and passion and vision, and we naturally agree. Communication is easy, because I do not believe that a relationship based off of compromise is a healthy one. If I have to compromise all the time, I'm not living.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I'm in jail.
Yeah.
So ideally, if I find a friend and a friend finds in me, where we agree, we laugh at the same things, we're real, we're vulnerable, we're honest.
We want
right?
the same thing.
Yeah, we want the same thing. We got the same vision, right? Like, in real life, my personality, my jokes is lethal. Like, I would get canceled, right? And my best friends know that about me. That's not something that I would ever say publicly, because I wouldn't actually hurt anybody's feelings. I just like being silly.
Yeah.
But if I have a guy friend and he sees that about me, he's not turned off by it or anything like that, and we're like,
it's a good sign.
We bantering, but he knows my heart. He knows, like, my purpose, my passion in life, and there's similarities there. And we have a vision. We just casually have conversations about our vision, where we believe that God is taking us, and we can agree. That place that you want to go to, I want to get there. And the way that you want to get there, right? Which is my framework for getting there is through the framework of Christianity.
Right.
And I want to do that, and I want to do it with you. I don't want to do it with nobody else.
Yeah.
Now you guys are in the running to go ahead and talk about engagement.
Right. But if you, hypothetically, if there's a guy in your life, handsome, you like his morals, you like his values, right? He seems suitable. You're getting to know him. He's not your boyfriend, right? But
Correct.
most people would say, I spend this amount of time with this person. We've been rocking this long. This is my boyfriend. But you see the potential in him to be a husband.
He can do whatever he wants with his body. That has nothing to do with me at all. His body, what he's doing is none of my business. He don't have to tell me or anything like that. Like, unless we have an agreement that we are going to share information about our body count or whatever, it has to have a purpose, right? Because I believe that when you have extensive body counts and things of that nature, you're sharing spiritual energy. If it's in that context for helping, yes. But if it's in the context for judging, no. It's not my business. You're not my man. You're not my husband.
Right. But if he proposed to you, you would say yes, though.
Yes.
And so would that change with that proposal? Good guy, great guy. Still, you know what? Forget all like the details, super micro details. The guy is proving to you everything that you need to see to be like, yes, I would do life with him. But would you feel differently about doing life with that man if you knew that before that moment, before you would say yes, that he did have sex with somebody else?
No.
That's a very interesting
that has nothing to do with me.
Perspective.
There's no agreement. There's no it's ain't nobody signed nothing. Ain't nobody whether there's no verbal. If you're what you write and what you say are both contracts.
Indeed.
If you did not give me a verbal contract that you see me for you and you for me,
and I'm mutually exclusive
you owe
to
me
you.
Nothing.
Yeah.
You don't owe me anything.
They're not gonna like that you're saying that.
Well, you don't owe me anything, and I don't owe him anything.
They're not gonna like that.
That's the problem.
Do you think that comes from entitlement on women's behalf then? Is that entitlement?
That mindset, the only reason why that mindset exists of possessiveness is because people are in the rhythm, on a consistent rhythm of renting. I'm not a renter.
Yeah.
I don't think like a renter.
Like we buying the house or nothing.
Is that right? You feel me? You understand what I'm saying? So if you're coming from a renter mindset and I say you owe me nothing, is going to vex you. The same way people who are middle class think that debt is the devil, but the rich see debt as leverage.
They leverage that shit.
So when middle class people hear debt, that makes us scared. But to the rich, they're like, oh, good, I need this debt because I'm trying to write off these taxes. You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, people not gonna like it because you think like a renter. You think you want to have the facade of ownership so you can have the lies of control. You don't own this person. Now, to your point, because I think that what I do want to drive at, like the potential for tension, and I'll tell you what that would look like for me based on my standards. If this man gave me a verbal contract that he wants us to be engaged, and he hasn't established self-mastery to the point where he is sleeping around with other women, I would question his integrity and everything that we've discussed, because prior to that, as friends, I should know you enough to know what you do and don't do. So if something gets inserted into the mix that is contrary to the man that you showed up to be and said, now we have an issue. Not that you cheated on me, because there's a conversation around integrity.
Yes, these way deeper than cheating at that point.
It has nothing to do. It's about integrity. Who are you, and what are we doing? What would you like to do? And how is this going to reflect? In a case of marriage, is this something that you need? Are you polyamorous? All these questions now get put into play. Will I be emotionally charged? Probably, but maybe not jealous, because I'm assuming at that point I haven't given myself to him sexually. Those things, those charges, those like literally the emotional charge and the charge of judgment comes from giving an energetic exchange, to where I'm trying to see where my investment is going. I want to control. It's just like if I'm putting money into the stock market, if I put money into it and that joint plummets, I'm going to have an experience because I made an investment.
True.
But if I'm just observing the stock market and stuff is fluctuating, that don't mind me nothing.
What if the investment was that y'all have been talking for the last 6 months?
About?
Y'all just vibing. Y'all getting close. Y'all.
For me as a person, this may not apply to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I have not made an investment.
Yeah. Even though you vibed out on the phone 2 hours FaceTime.
That's not my investment as a woman is letting you know that I have the intention to honor you for the rest of my life. My body is yours. My heart is yours. I'm investing. If I'm talking to you on the phone and we getting a good kiki in it, we just vibing.
We just vibing.
Yeah, we're your company.
Yeah.
And we got to get emotionally healthy. We got to get victory. You know, I have an acronym for wives, which I'll share in a bit. But as women, we got to get victory over our emotions. My emotional strength and capacity comes from having worked on my emotions and coming away from being possessive, right? Like, I've liked people or whatever, and I've heard that like he's kicking it with somebody else, and like I didn't share with him that I was interested or whatever the case may be, and we're just friends. Do I feel like, dag, like he got somebody? It crosses my mind. I don't want people to think that I'm, you know, I'm a Martian. I'm not AI. You know what I'm saying?
It's giving Martian.
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
giving Martian, and I understand that. It's that I have an emotional regulation capacity to acknowledge reality.
Right.
He's not my husband.
Right.
And that reality trumps my emotions. My emotions assist me, but they're not the boss of me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is not I. The person who's speaking is my I. I am a spirit being. I live in a body. I'm not my body.
Yeah.
My spirit is what is in control of what my mind, right? My soul, which is my will, my emotions. My spirit trumps that.
Hey, man, they're going to turn this shit off. They're going to turn this shit off because I'm telling you, you speaking on a level that's so way beyond what people was operating in.
Yeah.
Like, you kicking some shit that's like, they're going to be like, I don't want to hear this shit. Because it's like, you're not far away. It's just that they're not willing to, that's so far out of their realm of mindfulness, perspective, livelihood, intentionality. Like, you talking about, like, this my temple. They like,
yeah. Well, the Buddhists have a saying too. They say, my thoughts will visit me, but I will not serve it tea. What happens is that people get an emotional experience and they entertain it. Now you over here preparing everything. You letting your mind ruminate and make up stories and when did it happen? Yes. How long? Who is she? Do you like her? I don't allow.
It has the power you give it.
Correct. I don't allow myself to indulge in his actions because we have no verbal nor written contract.
Wow.
I don't have a right to participate as a governor. I don't have any jurisdiction there.
Yeah.
He is his own. Yeah. We are not one.
Yeah.
If anything, I would say, God, that's when I would drop to the floor. Father, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, I need you to show and expose this man's character and let me know here and right now.
Protect me.
Protect me, Father. If I believe that my Father in heaven would not walk me down the aisle into this man's hands, I'm not going. That's it.
And don't nothing need to be said after that.
That's it.
Because you know God gonna be like, oh, say less. Let me go.
It's absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Out of there. Yeah, that's the rejection protection experience.
Yeah.
But I believe in co-conspiring with God. If God is gonna protect me from a man who may have the intention of loving me, but doesn't have the capacity to do so, I'm gonna partner with God in that by giving him room.
You have to.
Yeah.
That's the only way to like. That's the best way you got to do this the right way.
Yes.
It's like, God, you cool with this? You cool with this, right?
Yes.
You gonna co-sign this with me?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's like I don't want this version when you're not walking through the door hand in hand with me.
Child.
Hey, the podcast is over, y'all. Thank you for coming to the podcast. No, because it's like man, like this insight that you're channeling, that you're coming from, like.
You mind if I help the people out real quick?
Please, help the people.
So tangibly, right? Because I know sometimes we do podcasts, we have these conversations. They're conversational, but I really believe in pouring into people, and I want to show people what that looks like. I've had at least 2 guys that I know very well that I've been really interested in and prayed about them and everything like that, and heard a hard no from God, like in my spirit, like no. That's a no. And I'm like...
But God...
if it ain't this nigga,
God, but God,
who would it be?
He's perfect.
Because he's perfect for me, right? And I had to have that argument with God several times because I'm like, he gotta be it.
This gotta be Boaz, God.
Baby, this gotta be Boaz.
I think this Boaz, God. This Bo.
For real, this Bo. Right? Help me out. And would hear no. Yeah. And so I would literally say this prayer: Father, I sacrifice and I submit into your hands my emotions for this man.
Absolutely.
And I give him over to you as my living sacrifice. Because I ain't got no goat. I ain't got no sheep. Right. I ain't got no grains. Right. I ain't got no altar to burn nothing. Right. So we got to think about where could I commit some idolatry? Yeah. Where can I put this person on God's throne of a chamber in my heart where he doesn't belong there because it's premature? And when I see it happening at the very on stage of it, I go ahead and I take it and I offer it up to God. And that is multiple times a day because we flirting. He's saying all the things that I like, right? Like he looking right, you know what I'm saying? And I will be like, okay, God, I offer him as a sacrifice to you. You told me no. I'm offering him as a sacrifice to you over and over and over again until eventually that emotion ceases to exist. And like clockwork, something will happen.
Hey man, be careful what you ask for, man.
Something will happen where I'll be like, that's why it wasn't for me.
And it will always be like that.
Yeah, and he's not a bad person.
Yeah, nah.
You feel me?
Not a bad person.
Not a bad person. It's just we're not going in the same direction.
Yeah, and God's just saving you time.
That's it.
Listen, I only ask you one question.
Yeah.
The podcast is over, y'all. This is part 2 now. The second question that I got for you, you dope, man.
Thank you.
You dope. You dope. I knew that already, but like, you're great. You're really awesome. The second question is, in your experience in your work, what are some common things you notice that hold men back from becoming a husband?
So the same. He doesn't understand. He doesn't have a standard for being a husband. So I heard this acronym from another man. I don't know his name, unfortunately. I wish I could give him credit. But he gave an acronym for husband. A husband is to H, honor his wife. U, understand his wife. S, support his wife. B, build her up. A, align to the word of God. N, nurture his wife. And D, defend his wife.
That's like a great man.
Heavy.
It's like a great man.
Right. And that is Bible, right? Like I've found scriptures, for each one of those acts. Absolutely, 100%. And I can see, and I want him too. Yeah. He sounds super dope.
Who doesn't want that person?
Who doesn't want that, right?
Seriously.
And if a woman, if a wife is designed to submit to a man and to basically mirror him, then everything that he shows up in the acronym, she will reflect that and she'll actually amplify it. So he still gets to benefit from it. And that's part of the experience of he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtains favor in the Lord. The word findeth that I've heard from a woman, her name is Tiffany Montgomery, but I looked at the suffix because she talked about the suffix to findeth, ETH, is a consistent experience. So when we hear the scripture, he that findeth a wife, it's not a one-time thing. The thing that a man has to be ready to do as being a husband is to find his wife all over again and over again. Oh, you had a baby? You got to find her again.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been 5 years? You got to find her again.
Yeah.
Oh, she's growing in this area? You got to find her again.
Yeah.
That's something that men have a hard time understanding about feminine energy, which is that men are so linear that when you pour into a woman, you fit. It's almost as if she's like a vessel without a bottom.
Yeah.
I keep giving you, girl, and you want more and more and more.
Right.
And that's the experience of a man. But what it actually is that a woman is more circular.
Yes.
She's not. There's no cap. It's that you're giving at a certain part of her, wherever she's in her cycle.
Yeah.
And not all quadrants.
Yeah.
So it seems like there's some emptiness there.
Yeah.
And women, there's no end to us. Yeah. We just keep on going.
Yeah.
So what happened 2 years ago happened today. There's no differentiation in time where you guys, men are really good at compartmentalizing. So that's the concept that men have to understand in their husbandry. And without that knowledge, if he ever learns it, it's going to be trial by fire.
Yeah.
But I would prefer that men learned it prior to.
Y'all pay this woman. Pay her. Find her. This is you're giving yourself an excellent case for why you're in this space and the type of work that you're doing. Y'all, you need the help. You know you need the help. And you know your brother, your cousin, and them, they need the help too.
I got y'all.
Reach out to her.
Yes.
Reach out to her, please. The next question that I got for you is, can you share a success story from one of your male clients about how you helped him overcome something that was holding him back?
Yep. So my top 2 areas where I help men is getting married men more sex.
Oh.
Oh yeah, very easy.
Oh. Wasn't expecting that.
Oh yeah. That is so easy.
That's easy?
Oh yeah. Because once they understand that women are a rhythm, when he has that concept and he gets that aha moment, he commits to it, it's a breeze. So some success things that I've heard is like guys going with like months of drought.
Yeah.
Of not
for sure
getting anything, her not initiating, or her just blatantly turning him down, to within 7 days, her already in the bed, showered up, like, I'm ready to get it in and blow his back out. And he like, wow. I'm exhausted.
Wow. I can't keep up. It's too much now.
It's too much. She done rolled me to the white meat. Show up, right? Like, that's nasty. Yeah. I'm sorry, but that's how me and the guys, we talk. They feel comfortable to be expressive in that way. And I know it could be a little bit crass, but I do give men that grace to be able to show up without judgment, without being like, hey, I'm a lady. Watch how you talk to me. Like, there's none of that. But yeah, so there'll be some of that. Or, you know, sometimes a man where his wife had put her head on his chest for the first time in 2 years.
Wow.
Where it was beyond just the sex, it was the intimacy. Wow. They were getting it in, but it was mechanical. It went from mechanical to being some emotional intimacy and connection.
Wow.
So those are some of my favorite,
you
know, testimonies in terms of like within 7 days. I don't care if you haven't had sex in 6 months.
Yeah.
I can get you some box.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that's probably the biggest problem in a lot of relationships, because, you know, like you said, women are like this constant well that you have to always be pouring into. And it's like, if that's not taught to a boy, and even like it goes beyond teaching, you got to see for yourself, but somebody has to introduce the concept to you because you're looking at it like, oh, I do a little bit and you good, right? You good. I'm gonna step over here. It's like, I'm good for a little bit, but I need to constantly be tuned into, constantly be kept like a garden. You know what I mean?
Ooh, that's so good.
You know what I mean? It just takes a continuous work. It ain't just like you water this one time. It's like, no, you got to come through.
Yes.
And you got to do shit. So they don't understand that. And when you neglect a woman and you deprioritize her needs, she gonna go bad on you.
You don't even know what you just said.
Man.
There is a scripture, I believe it's in Matthew. Don't quote me on the Bible, on the book, but it's the scripture where it says that the Holy Spirit walked Jesus into the wilderness. So when he was about to go through all that mental torment and the enemy was like challenging him and trying to seduce him and all these things, but it's called the wilderness. I just so happened to go into the Strong's Concordance. I just so happened to say, I wonder what wilderness means. You know what wilderness means?
What do you mean?
Wilderness means a wife who has been neglected by her husband, where his presence is lacking.
That's the wilderness.
Baby.
That's the wilderness.
Y'all know what a wilderness is? It's a drought. It's a desert. It is dry. It is arid. The temperatures are they fluctuate crazy. You ever been to Arizona? In the morning, it's cold. By night, it is cool. It is super cold, right? The wilderness is its own ecosystem.
Yeah.
It has specific animals that thrive. Some are nocturnal because they can't survive during the day.
Yeah.
Right? So is she checked out?
Yeah.
You understand? So that is the wilderness. And that is just, when you speak of a garden, right? A man wants his wife to be more like a rainforest, an oasis where it's wet.
Yeah. Yeah, no pun intended.
Right? Right. Or maybe so. Right?
Or maybe so.
Right, maybe so. But you know, we want the wives to be like the ecosystem of a rainforest. It's wet,
tropical,
vibrant,
abundant.
Abundant. Oh, like all the noises and sounds, all that. Right? You understand what I'm saying? Like the desert is quiet.
Yeah.
And you don't want to hear no rattlesnake.
Yeah. Some lions growling over there.
What?
Yeah.
Right? It'll startle you. And there's just, the rainforest is kind of sexy. You know what I mean? And that's what men crave. And there's a rainforest ecosystem and there's a wilderness ecosystem. And the distinction here is, right, because when we have paradise and we have the wilderness,
right,
and that paradise, we have the voice of God. In the wilderness, we have the absence of the voice of God. We have the absence of the voice of the man, who is the direct reflection of God. And so when your voice is missing, you place your wife in the wilderness. she becomes dry.
Yeah.
And that is really what I show men, how to
Yeah.
get a woman from being dry to wet is
Yeah.
really actually his voice.
Yeah.
If I talk to some of the guys, I'm like, what do you think was different? Is how he talked to her.
Yeah.
Was different.
Yeah.
But you walked me into that one with the garden part because I was like,
Nah,
child, you don't even know
yeah.
what you just said. Child.
Yeah. And
That
like,
blew my mind.
yeah. Yeah. And you speaking on the voice, like something, again, like I got a little cousin. He always called me for advice and stuff. And I can only tell him what I know. But one of the things I try to really get him to understand, like, bro, it's never what you say, bro. It's always about how you say it. And if you can just figure that one simple, maybe not easy, but simple nugget, it's going to carry you through a lot of progress. It's going to keep you away from a lot of time being wasted. You know what I mean? Like, men sometimes, like, we're really analytical, right? You know what I mean? And so, like, I've seen a million men, and I've been the man that, like, articulates an argument as best as I can, right? And it's like all factual points that I'm hitting on, but was she really hearing or was she really resonating with is what's underneath the words.
Say it.
You know? And because what's underneath the words is like, it's not warmth.
You're on it.
You know what I mean? It's cold. It's not giving safe space. It's not giving you love me. And like, you got to understand, back to women being like this continuous well, or the way you place it, which is so much better, is like, you got to understand that, bro, she needs it to come from, at least at the bottom, at the end of the day, I need to know that you're still here with me. It's like, if you give me like a hard word, it's like, okay, I could deal with that, but I need to know that, like, the love is, you still love me though. You still my family, you still my friend. You know what I mean? And sometimes, man, we be so burnt out and fed up for numerous amount of reasons that they can tell, like, that's not in there.
Yes, 100%. You're on it. So men speak in semantics. Women speak in emotions, which is why you guys get so frustrated with women. And it's understandable because a woman will say, I need a man to do this and I need a man to do that. And sometimes that man is looking right at her like, you not see me? What she should have said was like, I want the man that I want to do this. You could do it until kingdom come. I don't want it from you. And women just do not communicate it that way. And had we communicated it that way, it would demystify everything because then he wouldn't try so hard. He wouldn't be wondering. And so women have a semantics issue and men have an emotional conversational issue. That's why we are we could be compatible. You just got to work on the compatibility by reasoning and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But that's what you're speaking to in terms of that linear communication. That's semantics.
Yeah.
Y'all need for stuff to make sense.
And you got it, bro. You got to listen to what she not saying, bro. Everything not going to be vocalized through words.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like, you really have to develop a sense of, like, this is the thing. This is why it's so important, like, to your point of saying, like, I don't do the dating, like I do marriage, because this is going to require so much of you. It better be the right person.
It better be the right person.
You know what I mean? Because it's literally like this continuous way. You're going to continue, you're going to try to take on a mission of continuously pouring into somebody that you actually don't want to do life with.
Right. No.
Bruh.
That's why I said I don't like the conversation around compromise. And that was an old paradigm I subscribed to. I used to think, because I came from hard. I came from relationships that are hard until I saw relationships that were easy. And the relationships that were easy were the ones that naturally agreed.
Yes.
And y'all don't even got to speak the same language. Y'all just have the same vision and values.
Yes.
And when I saw what that looks like, because a lot of people don't know. And the most people who don't know what it looked like are the ones that are watching the internet and watching the podcasts. Most people who do know what it is, they're not watching these podcasts because they have no need of it because they're busy.
For sure. 100%.
You feel what I'm saying?
100%.
So what it looks like is y'all not arguing. What it looks like is y'all having a conversation. What it looks like is most things are manageable. There are uncomfortable conversations, but y'all not arguing. Yeah. That's what it looks like. And that's why I don't compromise. That's not where it's at.
Yeah.
No,
you the truth.
Thank you.
You the truth. You the truth. My next question is, how do you help men know the difference between someone who's fun to date versus someone who's a wife material?
Agreement. Yep, agreement. Can y'all agree, and is she agreeable?
Break that down for me real quick.
Yeah. So first, let me just go ahead and preface it by saying, let me ask you this first.
Yeah.
When you say fun versus a wife, like, give me your definition of fun in that context.
I think there are women that I have met that I really enjoy being in their life. I really enjoy having them around. They make me feel good. I'm attracted to them. in all the ways, pertainable. But something stops me though. You know what I mean? It's like it's not all the way there. It's a lot of boxes that are checked. Or maybe it's not even a lot of boxes checked. There are just things that I like. You know what I mean? Like there are girls that's like, yo, she's really fun. You know what I mean? Like we've got some great memories I'll probably never forget, but it's not that though. It's like I don't know if I'm taking her home though. I don't know if I'm introducing her to my grandmother, my mother. I don't know if I actually want to be committed to going the distance with her. And that's what I mean about like when you think about a wife, you think like you can have every part of me. You know what I mean? Because I feel like you're worthy of having that from me versus the girl who fun to date. It's like, I'll give you a little bit.
Sure.
I'll give you a little bit.
So, any man who has marriage on his mind, what I would end up doing is challenging the concept of fun. Because every woman and child should be safe with any man.
Absolutely.
And if a man could have fun with a woman, he's not safe.
He's not safe.
He is not. Because you're exposing her, you're awakening emotions and love in her that you have no intention of cultivating. That makes it dangerous. So we have to kind of like get back to that drawing board so you understand what seed are you planting in this world for other people to eat from. Right? So if I'm practicing self-mastery and I hold myself accountable to how this earth looks, when I plant certain seeds, I acknowledge that it's going to provide fruit in a tree so much that I can't really consume all of it. So I'm okay if other people eat from it because I got so much over here. There's no scarcity. But if I'm trying to have fun, I'm creating something that can be stunted. It won't reach its fullest potential. That's a lot of selfishness. So we have to kind of go back to the drawing board why he thinks that anybody is worth having fun with, and do you acknowledge your role as being an image of a man in this woman's life, even though you're not going to commit to her. Yeah. And what that looks like is don't play with it.
Listen, Dr. Umar Johnson was here, and we were talking about relationships, and he said, if you're not going to marry her, leave her alone.
Leave her alone.
That's what he said. And we always in the room like, yeah, that's how you feel, because, we looking at it like, and I'm sure women feel the same on the opposite side of the coin, but it's like, I want to have fun still, you know what I mean? Like, I want to know what it's like to lay in the bed with a soft, warm body. Like, I want to know what it's like to go out on dates and talk on the phone all the time. And then we feel like, because I don't want to be with that person forever, does that mean that I can't experience that? You know what I mean?
I mean, the question is, are you okay with breaking her? That's really what the question is.
Because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's highly likely.
Highly likely.
Highly. I mean, more likely than not. I won't say 100%, but it's highly likely. Because she is going to be looking at your behaviors, your actions, what you're saying, how she's feeling, and she's going to absorb that because that's what women do.
It's tough.
And when you already know in your mind that she's not her, like you owe that to the both of y'all.
Yeah.
To say, hey, like I don't see this going the distance.
Yeah.
And I don't want to play with your heart.
Yeah.
Right? So that comes with self-mastery. That comes with the man understanding his identity, his impact. That comes with them. Any man who can thrive in that and do that is a man who has lost his voice and no one provided it for him. Because if you knew how impactful you were and what you would do, you would be very, very much more mindful. So sometimes men don't see their impact. They feel like when I do well, nobody notices. When I do bad, nobody notices. This is a man who more than likely has thrived under the radar.
Yes.
So nothing that he really did was spotted. So it seems like it's ineffectual. So to this man in that paradigm, that mindset, naturally he's going to think, well, if I kick it with this girl, we're mutually having fun.
Right.
So all should be well.
But rarely is it ever really mutual like he thinks, though. And
exactly.
That'd be the tough thing that I didn't have to learn too. Like every girl who's ever met me thinks I'm her husband for the most part. You know what I mean? And so I find myself running into, like, you might think that the way this started, or based off of the words that we shared, right? Because we got our understanding.
Right.
We talked, right?
Yeah.
We said we understood each other, right? Always drift away from the shore.
100%.
Always. It's like very rare that it's ever been like, oh no, they sticking to the code because of that one conversation that we had. Man, that shit.
100%.
That shit don't mean nothing.
Absolutely. Because we don't operate like that. So that's why I would say, back to the question, which is fun versus marriage, I would say if you can consider having fun with a woman. If that's where your mindset paradigm is, you're not ready to be a husband.
Yeah.
We got to revisit that. We got to have a hefty, hearty conversation around what you're actually saying versus what you wanted to experience.
Yeah.
And then once he graduates from then I would say how do you know which women to invest in versus which women to leave alone? I would say the one that is the most agreeable with you and the one where there's agreement, right? Agreement around, overarching purpose, vision, and agreeableness in terms of functioning. How do we step by step, action wise, implement this? So if I know that we have an agreement around family unit and structure, do we agree on how that looks like fundamentally? Do we agree that I stay at home with the kids, you work? Do we agree that we both work? That is the agreeableness. Like, is she agreeable to the functionality and how you want to execute this vision?
Yeah.
If any one of those, if there's a lot of turbulation, I would say let that go. I don't care how fine she is, because it's a lot of men with fine women and he don't want her no more because it's a headache.
I could cook on that for another 30 minutes.
Right.
I'm going to move on to the next question. You're doing excellent, by the way. You're doing an amazing job. The podcast is really, for me, to be honest with you, I'm like, I'm so happy that I'm done. I just want to get through the other ones because they're here.
Because they're really good questions.
Because they're just here. But I'm like, I'm done. Really, the first one was, the way you answered the whole tiff that we got into, I was like, that was everything I wanted right there.
That's awesome.
Moving to the next thing. I'm actually going to skip the fifth one because we kind of just covered it. What do your What do your clients complain about the most when it comes to dating and looking for love?
So this is hard because it depends on where he's at.
Right.
So there are some men who cannot even get off the ground. What that means is he can't even get a date.
Yeah.
So more than likely, he's probably socially awkward. Something about the way that he connects with women on the onset is unwell. He's not giving eye contact. He don't like the bass in his voice.
Not giving charisma.
Something is. I don't really work with men like that because
you don't really work with men like that. Okay.
Because that's social. So I don't believe in necessarily changing people, and I feel like there's a lot to change there.
I get where you're going.
And I sometimes believe like
you need to do that before you get here.
Not necessarily, but leave well alone. Maybe there's a quirky woman who like you just the way that you are. Who am I to tell you that you need to change? I just don't have the tools to work with that, except for go where you're celebrated. That's like the base of, like, I'm not finna waste your money. You know what I'm saying? And maybe somebody likes you without your eye contact and all of that and all the things. That's not what I subscribe to. And that's not where I feel like my ministry is best had. So I leave that alone, right? Now, when men are single, some of the single men, they more so feel like they haven't met her, the one, and they're wondering, has he met her and dropped the ball, or is he not picking right? Right. So in that case, we start talking about vetting and verifying for your purpose partner. So now we got to talk about his purpose. We got to talk about how he vets. We got to talk about how does he verify, right? So if you say that you want a woman who is maternal, right, like she has good maternal instincts, and you see her around some kids and you don't see that maternal bone in her body, I'll tell you, I don't care what she says. It's according to how you interpret her maternal instincts. Do you interpret what she's saying as what it is, or you interpret it differently because your interpretation trumps her experience of herself? So that's how we get into like vetting. Like, you vet a person and then you got to verify what's being discussed. So that's for like the dating arena, and then marriage is a whole other ballgame because now you already in the thick of it. Y'all already done signed the contract, right? That's a whole other ballgame. But that's how I talk to my single men, which is like, are you properly vetting these women? Are you asking the right questions? Are you really showing up authentically?
Yeah. Do you think a great deal of people probably have already met their person in their lifetime? I ask that because I hear there's a lot of men who are not as licensed and as credible as you are when it comes to like really getting that backing. But YouTube is like, even me, is giving voice to a lot of people to share their opinions. And one school of thought that I hear often is men saying to women specifically that like, you already met your husband, but you overlooked him. Because a moment ago, you kind of alluded to the guy questioning like, have I met my person yet? Or like, what is the case? But like, I've heard men say that women, it's like, you probably met your guy, but you overlooked him for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Like, How realistic do you think that is in people's lives?
Honestly, the part where I struggle with that when I think about it is we have an identity crisis at large. To be able to say you found your person, that person should have found themselves. And I don't think people are really there yet. So it's
Mm,
going to be kind of hard to be able to identify who's for you if you're not understanding your identity and they don't understand theirs.
it's
So
true.
right now at
That's
this
fair.
point, we're just a bunch of automatons meandering, moving around. So one of the things we got to understand in terms of the language of frequency and energy, right, is when even at gestation and birth, right? Like when the sperm meets the egg and it does what it needs to do, there are all types of cells. There are cells for the heart, there are cells for the lungs, there are cells for the kidneys, and they
Mhm,
all vibrate at its own frequency.
mhm.
That's how they find each other.
Yeah.
That's how you don't get the kidney cells with the heart cells. And when that does, that's called the dysfunction, right?
Mm,
That's not healthy. It's not supposed to happen like that.
mm,
So when they vibrate and they create that noise, they find each other from afar. They find all of it and they coagulate, they come together and
mhm.
they begin to form and become what they were set
Yeah,
out
you
to
cooking.
become,
For
right?
sure.
So if my mission in life is to do this, I need to find somebody who's vibrating on this frequency that has a passion for men the
Mhm,
way that I do. And that's okay with me being a woman working with a man because some men are not. Like
mhm,
all that has to go well together. Otherwise it's gonna be dysfunction. So if I don't know my purpose and I'm acting like a heart, but I'm actually a kidney,
mm.
and I attract a man who is actually a heart cell, and we come together, but we constantly disagree because I'm talking about filtration
Then that's
and
not for
he's
you.
talking about pumping,
Yeah,
then we gonna constantly disagree. We're not gonna see eye to
yeah,
eye.
yeah.
So it's hard for me to say whether somebody actually met their
Met that
person
person,
because
yeah.
maybe y'all gelled in a certain kind of manner because there was chemistry or something that made you believe that that person was for you, but really and truly y'all wasn't even on the same frequency. That's why it didn't last.
That's so that yeah, I agree with that. That
Yeah.
makes a lot of
So that's
sense.
hard for me to like.
Yeah,
Mhm.
man. Yeah, you need to be on bigger stages.
Thank
Bigger
you.
stages for sure. Like
Thank you.
the pods that you're doing, it's all love, it's all great, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But you need to be on a platform where more people can hear you speak. Cause that's gonna the bottom line for your brand and what you're doing, that's
Yeah.
gonna be most beneficial to you. But you're just ready for that.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. You're just ready for that. You know what I mean? It's like, do what you gotta do. Like this is not a super big podcast. So I
Right.
appreciate you coming over and
100.
lending.
Well, I'm a fan.
Thank you.
So
Thank you for lending your energy over. But that's you need to be thinking vertical because that's where you
thank
that's where
you.
you belong, you know?
I received that.
Yeah, for sure. What kind of red flags do you see men overlook for a woman he finds attractive?
What kind of red flags do I see men overlook?
Mhm.
Her attitude,
Mhm.
right? Like her behavior, how she getting confused around chemistry
Mm.
and being so when a man is young and immature, because you can be young but mature.
Mm.
But when you're young and immature, you might be in the club or whatever, and who appeals to you when you're 22? A woman who's out there dancing. So I hope I can use this as an example. I hope people don't get too upset. But
Me?
not you. You'll be
Yeah.
cool with it because
Yeah.
we vibe. But
Mhm.
Kanye West and Kim Kardashian are the proverbial mistake of a marriage.
Mm.
You met her, you knew who she was.
100%.
You knew who she was. Marriage, baby, what like that wasn't designed to change her. She still want to dress how she want to dress.
Yeah.
And sure, she conformed, but it created tension because that's not who she was and what she wanted to be. So you have to select based on long term outputs. This is why we don't compromise because now you just want her to get it. And there's nothing about what Kanye felt about his wife that was wrong. It was not error. His desire was not error. It makes all the sense in the world.
Mhm.
It's just that you shouldn't have expected it from her.
Yeah.
You understand? So men have to think outside of the rhythm of attraction. He got to think with this head.
Mhm.
That's where
Absolutely.
men make mistakes at. They think lower region sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The other head.
Um, do you think it's a mistake for a guy to place value on a woman strictly for her looks?
Yes. Yes, it is a mistake because those things do not always translate to if you if you want a wife and the mother of your children and you want those things, you cannot base it off of her looks alone.
Yeah.
But you should be attracted to her.
Absolutely.
I do not think that I don't care what she looked like on paper. Every man listening to the sound of my voice, if you're not attracted to that woman, don't you marry her. You will be miserable. Unless she shows up in such a way that you genuinely, in real life, don't mind. Like she may not be attracted to somebody else, but you're attracted to her.
Yes.
That qualifies. That's fine.
Because he just got to be attracted to her.
You just got to be, it don't matter what anybody else. She don't have to be universally attractive, right? She might got a snaggletooth and you like it.
But you're attracted to it.
Right. It looks cute to you.
Her heart, her spirit, whatever it is.
Yeah. Right. You know what I'm saying? Go for it. But if she looks well on paper, and I've actually helped a lot of clients break up with their girlfriends. Like
you help people do that too?
I do.
Hey.
I ghostwrite. I help men break up with women without the woman coming back trying to cry and revisit the conversation and ask what I did and all of that over and over again, because it creates so much stress for him. So I show a man how to break up with a woman, like how to set up how to open it, the meat and potatoes of why it's not finna work. Oh my God. And how this is gonna look from here on out.
You're amazing.
Yeah, they need it. Because
they need that.
They don't want to be the bad guy.
The conflict, they want to avoid it.
They want to avoid the conflict, but you have to, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know.
Yeah.
I don't want to make nobody the breakup king.
Right.
But I'm just saying, if she not for you and
you need to get out.
Listen, exit stage left immediately.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? So I help.
Don't overstay your welcome here any longer than you need to.
It's not worth it. It's not worth your masculinity. Your masculinity is precious. If you know how precious it was, you wouldn't squander it. So I support men and I help men around. I've actually met with couples on Zoom and like watched them break up.
Damn.
Yeah. Like I remember I had one case where she said she still wanted it to work. Like I had them message me privately and say, you know, let me know. We had the conversation about the relationship and she was on some, I still wanted to work. And his response was like, I don't want this no more. Like, I know she good for me. I still don't want her. And I don't know why. But I just do not want her. And I had to let them know. That was probably one of my hardest sessions I ever had in my life.
You was feeling for her like, damn.
Because I was hoping that after he said everything that he said, that she was going to have a little bit of chutzpah to be like, I deserve better, but she ain't have it. She still
Damn, that's tough. That's tough.
It was so hard.
Because if she'd have had that, then it'd be like, yeah, like,
you're going to be all right.
You're going to be all right.
Yeah.
But she was like, I'm still here.
I want it.
Like, you making this killing hard.
It was, I don't want nobody else. I was like, oh my God, there's like 7 billion, like 8 billion people in the world.
Yeah.
And afterwards, like he was my client. She was not my client. So I didn't talk to her afterwards. I
couldn't even be there for her. Conflict of interest.
So when he and I revisited it and he just didn't like himself. He was like, damn, like, why don't I want her? I want to want her, but I don't want her. And that's not just one client. Like that type of dynamic has happened several times.
Yeah.
So you gotta exit stage left. You gotta cut it. So you cannot base your values like
on a woman's looks.
No. I will never tell any man to neglect looks.
Yeah.
Or
never saying that.
Yeah. Or like marry for looks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, my spin on this is, again, like I'm gonna frame everything around the advice that I give to my little cousin, who's actually taller than both of us, stacked on top of each other.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's tall. Or just there's a lot of young men that God has placed in my life that they look to me and ask me questions and I'm just here to answer. You know what I mean? And one thing I try to tell them is that the reason why you shouldn't place too much value on a woman's looks is because her looks were given to her at birth. It is not a reflection of
that's so good.
Of her honor, her integrity,
that's
her value,
so good.
Discipline, her principles. These are the things that determine how beautiful people, if you're really beautiful or not.
I love that.
You know what I mean? Like, what have you done in this earth? Who have you helped?
Yeah.
How do you treat yourself? That's the metric of, in my mind, that's beauty.
Yeah.
When you see somebody and you just be like, damn, they just got a light about them.
Yes.
I could feel it.
Yes.
They testimony, what they saying.
Yes.
That's beauty. It's like you feel it when you're talking to older people all the time. Like you have a little conversation, they give you a little wisdom. You just feel right when you're talking to them. You know what I mean?
True.
Because that's that beauty that's coming from them. And like a woman's looks she could be drop dead gorgeous. Whatever you into, she could have all that, but understand that like it's not a reflection of how well she's gonna be to you. You know what I mean? And with great power comes great responsibility. You know what I mean? That's a lot to deal with, that power, because especially like when you know how easy it is to get a guy's attention. You know what I mean? You know how easy it is. She might not be in a place where she's willing to let that go. She might really love that power and what that power affords her. You know what I mean? And you know, it's not what you do is but this is not how you say, it's not what you say, it's how you say, it's not what you do, is what you do with it. You know what I mean? So you just gotta understand that like she might be beautiful and she might be really attractive, but the woman that's for you is the person that impresses you based on how she's living her life. You know what I mean? So I'll be just trying to impart that wisdom to
And
the
the one
little
that you believe
homies.
that you could lead, because I think a lot of women, we want to look up to our man.
Yeah.
Even
Whoa.
Even if he's shorter, right? Even
Whoa.
if he's shorter in height, right?
Whoa.
I want to look up to my man.
I tell the homies, you need to be the guy that your woman aspires to look up to. If you're not, I think you said, we were talking about earlier, like if you're the girl that he has fun with, that he's in danger.
That would be the yeah.
Yeah. If your girl doesn't look up to you,
it's a problem.
You're in danger.
It's a problem.
You're in danger because now she feel like she doing you a favor, gang.
Absolutely.
If a woman feel like she doing you a favor,
whoo,
that shit gonna come back
you
around.
Preaching now.
It's gonna come back around.
You preaching now. You preaching now, because baby, when a woman don't respect you, your influence is gone, your leadership is gone, your voice is gone. It's a wrap. It's a wrap.
I'm telling you, you know what I mean? Because it's like it's all good when it's all good, but then the minute that she feel like my mama call it charity work, right?
Woo!
So it's like, you know what I mean? So she doing charity work on you, right? Because maybe she tried dating, she tried to get in the guy that she wanted, didn't really work. So now she being open. It's like, you know what? Let me try some shit that I usually wouldn't try.
You cooking.
And it's all good until you fall underneath her expectations.
That part.
And now it's like, hey, yo, this nigga, yo, I can't believe, you know what I mean? Because you don't even know. I be curving y'all left and right.
Right.
Finally give you a little chance, finally give you a little opportunity, and you don't do what I expect you to do with it.
But a lot of guys don't mind that though, because at least they got the...
Oh, because they bottom feeders. They dogs at the end of the table waiting for a crumb to fall off.
Facts. That's when it becomes that's when men will tell women, like, go ahead and think you could play my game until I play it back. And I keep telling these women, stop playing these men games. You cannot play a man's game. Can't.
The podcast is over, y'all. It's over. It's over. Listen, my next question. What are some common things you notice that hold women back from becoming a wife?
Identity issue. You don't understand how to be a wife. And that acronym for wives is, she should win him over by her conduct.
Come on, conduct.
Not just speech.
Come on, conduct.
And unfortunately, because, I'm an educated woman, and I appreciate the education that I have. It helps me to do what I do. I love it. But never in a day will my intellect win my husband over. It'll be how I carry myself. It'll be how I communicate to him. It'll be how I receive him. It'll be how I submit to him. It'll be how I show up soft and feminine. It's gonna be behind my okay, baby. That he's gonna be like, damn, I was harsh with her. He gonna come back and be like,
facts.
I saw the look in your eyes. I was harsh. I apologize. Versus me coming out with the almanac, coming out with the encyclopedia from A to Z of all the big words to tell him how I felt, how he made me feel. It's not finna work.
It's like once a woman lets her guard down, it's kind of like fighting, right? Follow me real quick, but it's like if you fighting a dude, it's you feel compelled to give your best when his fist up and he's swinging too.
That's good.
You know what I mean? But when his fist is down,
it's
like, now I'm just abusing you now.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing.
It's not the same.
It's no honor. I don't even get the same feeling from the win. So when a woman is like not, combative, thank you. When she's not combative, you're like, I'm wailing on her right now. And that ain't right.
It's not right.
Yeah.
And women gotta give men an opportunity to have his moment to come to himself. Cause he is gonna pop off and be wrong.
Yeah.
It's finna happen.
He gonna catch himself.
But let him catch himself.
But that's what they scared of, though.
Of course,
That's what they scared of.
because we're banking on our voice being meaningful.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And, you know, just to kind of like round out the acronym for I and wives. And the reason why I use wives is not necessarily because I believe that a man should have more than one wife, but because wife didn't have enough letters and I don't want the guys to be mad at me.
Yeah, for sure. Get your sauce off.
Yeah, but, you know, I is she initiates intimacy.
Mm.
And intimacy is not only sex.
Mm.
Intimacy is how much you're seeing into him and what is his love language. And are you initiating that?
Hey,
so if his intimacy language is quality time, which I do find, actually I find that more times alpha males, their primary love language is like words of affirmation. Because I think that they need to like hear
that's my number one.
Okay, so
that's my number one.
Then you're alpha.
In the whole list, that's number one.
Okay, so then you're alpha. I would, if you told me that, I would be like, oh, then you're more than likely an alpha male. I mean, me being around you, I wouldn't think anything outside of that. I know people don't like the term alpha, but y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I think that what it is like, for the man who wants to be the leader of the pack, he wants to ensure that the pack is okay. Yeah. So he needs that verbal communication.
Hey, Dre got a bar. He said, I need acknowledgement. If I got it, then tell me I got it then.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yes. So for V, it is she has victory over her emotions. Right? A woman needs to do that. This is, again, to the basis of the identity of a woman. If you don't know how to talk to a man without using your words, you're not ready to be a wife. If you don't know how to pay attention to a man without him constantly telling you what he needs, you can't pay attention to him so that you can't initiate intimacy, you're not ready to be a wife. If you don't have victory over your emotions to where you take things personal or you need him to regulate your emotions for you, you need him to do that excessively, you're not ready to be a wife. If you cannot esteem him better than you esteem yourself, which is the word, if you cannot encourage him, you're not ready to be a wife. If you are with a man and you do not inspire this man to get up out his sheets, and produce, you ain't like, you're either you're not for him or you just not ready to be a wife. You want a husband, but you're not ready to be a wife. And if you're not ready to submit to his mission, you're not ready to be a wife. You want to be able to work on those things, because I make a really good follower because I've been a leader. So I know how to submit. I have a friend of mine, you know, she's my friend, but when we've done business in the past together, we had a conversation around like, yo, I don't know if you, like, her conversation was like, we friends. Right. But when I'm boss lady, I don't know. I don't want our friendship. And I said, if you're giving me the privilege of being able to make 6 figures with you, then I owe you to treat you like a boss. Come on. Because I could be your friend for free. Or we can go ahead and get this, add these zeros to our account. And she's younger than me, and I don't challenge her. Yeah. I don't rebuttal. Yeah. I aspire, I will challenge frameworks, but I don't challenge her character.
Which is collaborative. Correct. Yeah.
And she allows for that and welcomes that. We don't got no problems.
No problem.
No.
Because you play your role.
I play my role.
Like you said, like Jay Electronica got a line. He said, in order to be a master, in order to become a master, you must first submit to a master.
That's it.
You play your, nobody's bigger than the program.
Correct. Yeah. And that's the reason, that right there is the reason why a lot of men don't experience submission from a woman, because they themselves have never had to submit even to another man. So, nor God. Because that's really who's you're supposed to submit to. You're supposed to submit to God. So it's hard for a man to ask, if a man, when any person understands the struggle of submission, like how you treat a person, like it changes a little bit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because I know what it feels like to be a leader, and I know that pressure, and I know what I want, I know how to submit. You know what I'm saying? Like it can be inverted, right? So I know what it's like now, and me knowing what it's like to submit when I have people under me, like I manage that leadership dynamic and vice versa. Yeah. So a lot of men want certain privileges that are illustrated in the Bible. Submission is an experience that men of God experience. It's not for males.
The distinction.
Not for males. Submission is for men of God, because you're supposed to submit to the mission of God so that the woman can submit to the mission that God gave to you.
Come on.
If you do not submit to God, you do not have the right, you don't have the jurisdiction right? To tell a woman to submit to you, which what you're actually saying is, I don't want you to communicate anything contrary to what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it, even if I'm moving the goalpost. So she's going to be abrasive. So that conflict that a lot of men experience is because he's not anchored, he's not rooted and grounded. So one moment one moment you're in the east, and then next moment you're in the west. Right? Like, my dad is an amazing man because I know how to be. So my dad's name is Alex. I know how to be Alex in the absence of his presence. So what that means is, if somebody says that they want to do something with something that belongs to my dad, I know how to speak for him. I don't have to even call him and say, hey, Dad,
Absolutely.
XYZ, because my father has led me in a way. He has mastered how we all, it's all girls. We all know what daddy want. We all know what daddy said, because dad is consistent. He doesn't waver much. Like, what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
Out of courtesy, if I make a decision on my father's behalf, I will call my dad out of courtesy to say, hey, Dad, this came through. This is what I told him, because that's what I thought that you would say, but I still want to give you the opportunity to veto that. I don't say veto. I just say,
for sure,
I'm speaking Creole, whatever. I'm just saying, I just want to double check, like, do you, and my father has never disagreed with my decision because he did such a great job being a leader to me in my life. I don't need him there to help me help him.
Real quick, can I just say, man, oh man, I have just found time and time again that Haitian people, man, it's something different with y'all, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm Haitian, so I'm in it, so I don't understand. What is it like for you on the outside?
I mean, it's like around the board, the morals, the values, the principles, the integrity, it be the same. I'm thinking about 4 Haitian people right now. Y'all don't know each other. Y'all the same. And I'm telling you, and it's man, it stands out in such a distinctive way.
That is
It's
awesome.
like, bro, what is that about, bro? Like,
there's a demand for respect.
Yeah, like when it comes to like that each one teach one thing, like my interactions with Haitian people, I be learning from y'all, because it's like, bro, whatever that is, bro, I like, for real, like, if it come from the top, whatever it is, it's in the blood, whatever, you know what I mean? But it's like, it's distinct, man. It's very distinct, and I love being able to witness it and be around it, because it's so refreshing to see people just be so rooted in goodness.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, we don't play.
I got some people I want to introduce you to.
Please do. Yeah.
Yeah, some great people who happen to be Haitian.
Awesome.
My next question is it a man's fault if the woman he's with doesn't respect him?
I wouldn't say that it's his fault, but God would say it's his fault.
Ooh, okay.
Because on a human level, I feel for men. Back to what we talked about in terms of, there's a heavy mantle, a heavy mandate, and legislation for men to be men, but we're not providing men with all the tools and all those things. But any man, when to look at Hosea chapter 4, verses 13 to 14, God said that this is why your daughters are prostitutes and your wives are committing adultery, because you do it, and I'm not going to punish them for it, but I'm finna punish you. What?
They say that?
Hosea chapter 4, verses 13 to 14. This is why he's talking to men who are considered, like, men are the priests of the household. This is why, the reason why your women are misbehaving is because you are leading them there by your conduct. They are reflecting, because I designed you. I know what I did when I did it.
Right.
I knew when I breathed my life in you and I watched you walk around this earth and I decided to take a piece of you from the side. She came from you. You think she's acting independent of you? Y'all are the same person.
Yeah.
Y'all are one. So what you thought this was? You thought you was going to be a prostitute and you thought you was going to commit adultery and your wives and your daughters wasn't? I didn't build it that way.
And you know what? You kind of alluding to Genesis a little bit. And like, the one interesting thing about Genesis that men never, I'm talking about like almost never just like be forthcoming about, maybe they haven't thought that far about it. It's like, bruh, everything that God told Eve not to do, he told Adam not to do it too. I just think that's relevant information. You know what I mean? It's like, he also knew what not to do.
Yeah.
He also knew what not to do.
He knew.
You know what I mean? It ain't like he just gave it to one person and then didn't give it to the...
Well, God only gave it to Adam. He never even told Eve. That instruction for how to operate in the garden,
right,
was God and Adam. Eve was inside of Adam. We make an assumption, you know, Bible scholars make the assumption that when she came from his side, you know, like some people say the rib, some people say the side, right? Because God is about infrastructure. So the word for rib in the Bible in Hebrew is the word selah, which is side, which is panel, right? So you think about like the side, like it's literally like the whole, it's not a brick.
That's hard.
A rib.
That's hard.
It is the entire piece.
Yeah.
Right? So
literally.
She's more than just this right here. She is like literally, some people believe that he cut Adam from his head to his toe. Like all of that.
It's still a side.
It's still a side. And so when God continued to fashion her, the belief is that at some point, you know, we don't know how long Adam and Eve were together before they ate the fruit. That could have been 2 million years for all we know. We don't really know how long. We don't know because they're just telling a story.
Yeah.
So at some point, there's the belief that Adam explained the laws of the land to her. Like, we have dominion, all kinds of stuff.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Now, when she did what she did and she got seduced into doing it, there are a couple of interpretations from it in terms of Adam's experience. So prior to Eve never was in the garden without Adam. She never had that experience.
Right.
She was never there, like in her own entity, the one time that God said this is not good. When he said let there be light, he saw that it was good. When he separated the firmament, he said that was good. When he made the animals and all that, he said it was good. Like, she wasn't by herself then.
Yeah.
They were still together. Adam had the experience of not seeing two of the same kind, the flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone. He's the only one who had that experience. So some people say that when Adam said, it's this woman that you gave to me, that he was blaming God. Some people say, no, he is saying, this is the woman that you gave me to manage and to steward over. So when she ate of that fruit, I knew she was going someplace because you said that we shall surely die. So I went to go die with her. I went with where you said, like, this is what you gave to me. Like, you gave those, you paired the giraffe with the giraffe. You gave them each other. I didn't want to not be with her. And that was like, that was when the first time idolatry was instituted. And idolatry is adultery in the eyes of God. And that's why they got kicked out. Which is why that's one of the main sacred rules when divorce is allowed is adultery. Because that's like idolatry, like that's on the same plane. Yeah. So that's that interpretation. I didn't happen to be there in the garden. Sure. I didn't happen to be Eden, so I don't know exactly how Adam meant it. Yeah. But I think both interpretations are absolutely beautiful, and I believe that both are true. You know, in my opinion.
You should pull the lesson from both.
100%. So like, yeah, we, you know, with a man, if a woman doesn't respect a man, is it his fault? I have complete sympathy, but God has accountability. So God would say, yeah, it is your responsibility and your accountability to go on ahead and do what you got to do to establish that by your behavior. Yeah. Not by, you can't tell a woman, well, I got needs and I got to, no.
Yeah. No.
So for all them people out there who like David had 100 wives and Solomon, they had bank to do so. You know what I'm saying? They had bank to do so because in the New Testament, there's a mandate that every man should have his own wife, singular. That's what I subscribe to. I believe God has his reasons for that, right? Like when God didn't take two women out of both his sides. There was only one. So right. There's a certain, you know what I'm saying? I believe that God there's a difference between God's allowances and God's original design. Yeah. God's original design says that a woman is going to output and she's going to amplify and magnify what a man is doing. So when men look at the state of affairs with women, then men have to reverse engineer their contribution to that. They cannot just arbitrarily say that's her.
I'm going to bring you back on this podcast and we're going to have a whole different conversation.
Totally, I'm with it.
Do you experience, we're coming to the end right now. Do you experience guys complaining about their girlfriend being more loyal to their friends than their relationship?
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because I can't think of how.
Okay, so I'm gonna repeat the question. I'm gonna explain a little bit. Do you experience guys complaining about their girlfriend being more loyal to their friends than their relationship? I think there's some men out there that will share their experience that the friends get first dibs, first priority on the best parts of who she is. And he gets the latter. He gets like the scraps, right? Like she turn up fun when it's with them. And then when it's with me, it's like the nagging. It's like I know there's some guys that will agree with this. It's like when you out there, you shaking your ass. When you in here, ain't no booty shaking. You know what I mean? It's like, why when you get around your friends, you give them the best part of who you are. But when you get around me, it's like, it just feels like you're giving the best parts. It feels like you're more loyal to your friends. That's the context of what I mean. Yeah. Have you ever experienced anything, a man talk about that at all?
So most of my clients are like 35 to 65.
Got you.
So that dynamic will be more like her and her boss.
Yes.
As opposed to her friends. Yeah. So like, I think
that's tough.
Yeah. So I think that might be for maybe like 34 and under.
Yeah, and under, yeah.
I'm not saying that the 35 plus they don't experience that. But yeah. But most of the time when I hear that frustration in terms of one of the things that I wish women understood about men and what a man desires, what's a bonus for men to experience, is that you should be fun. You should be light, right? Like lighthearted, whimsical, feminine, silly, funny, giggly, goofy, right? But not immature. But just somebody he could kick it with, laugh with a little bit, be fun with. Like, that's important to a lot of men.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, there's respect. And there are times when men, especially with the pandemic, where women and men were forced to like coexist in close quarters more than we have in like ages, it allowed men to see how their women act right.
Yeah.
In the context of work. And he's like, oh, so you can just listen and not talk back.
Right.
Why I don't get that?
Right.
So yeah, I believe that there are some it's kind of tricky, and it all depends on the circumstance, right? Because sometimes the way a person can speak, and it's not necessarily a man, but in this for this conversation, in this dynamic, the way he's communicating to her is eliciting defensiveness. Yes. So he might need some help around communication, right? And then there's another component where women are groomed in the education arena and in the workforce arena to be able to contain. When we're not groomed to do that there. Don't make it right. But that's where that capacity comes from. And also for the fact that she gets to clock out. You know what I mean? Like, code switching is over. Now she home. It's like men do too. You know what I'm saying? You go outside, you gotta, be the NIGGA here, there, whatever. But when you come home, code switching is over.
Can I just build on that? In a previous relationship, an issue that I had was, and this is my experience, an issue that I had was that when she would speak to people that she would work with, it was like the charisma, it was all there. Like light switch.
Woo, scary.
Every single time. And then it's like, as soon as you get back here, we might not even be, it's not even about us like arguing or anything like that, but I would just notice that sometimes it like, damn, but then that shit just go out the window now that you're back here. Now it's like, now I get the, like the tired, the fatigued, or whatever it is. And, sometimes we would have that conversation. I'd be like, yo, I don't rock with that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And to me, it feels fake. You know what I mean? It feels fake that you know how to act when it's about conducting business, but why aren't you conducting the business of us in a similar fashion? Yeah. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it is fake because she is putting on, because there's bills on the line, there's money on the line, there's a transactional experience there.
Yeah.
It's kind of why the, corn or porn works. It's kind of why prostitution works, because this is what actors and actresses are able to do.
I see.
Right? So like, you are getting the real her. They are getting a fake her. You just happen to get a inside view of the fake version of her that you kind of was digging.
Yeah. Yeah. Or it's like when I know that you're at your best, which, grace needs to be extended, right? Because it's all contextual. But like when you're at your best, that's the version of you that
That they're
exists.
getting, right? And I should
You
get
know
that.
what I mean? And it just seems like, because for me, like when I'm dealing with people in a business setting, I'm not code switching shit. You know what I mean? I'm really not. I'm not. I never feel the need to. You know what I mean? I'm just, because I come with respect at all times. So there is no need for me to code switch, because you're always going to get principles, value, integrity, discipline, respect from me. So there's just, in my mind, there's no need to give any person that I work with more than I would give the person that I lay in bed with.
Totally.
There's just no need, you know what I mean? And so like sometimes when I would see it, I didn't respect it and I didn't understand it, because I'm like, yo, you here with me now, man. Maybe I ain't seen you for hours, you know what I mean? Like I needed to, like, where's the love? Especially because we ain't fell out about nothing, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? But that's neither here nor there.
Yes.
2 questions. What's one question you think, I want to flip it around to the women now, I want to give them a chance, but what's one question you think every woman should ask herself before deciding to marry someone? We probably answered this multiple times in some kind of way, but now we just putting it right there.
Yeah, totally. Just the acronym that I gave for wives. Can I do it? Do I want a husband or do I want to be a wife? Because there's a difference between there's a difference between being a woman and having the office of a wife.
You didn't say something.
Yeah, there's a difference. You can be a woman all you want. You can even be a caricature of a woman. If you want. The lashes, the weave,
the whole thing, perfume,
the
cocoa butter at night,
waist cincher, all that. You can be a caricature of a woman, all that you want. Doesn't make you a wife. You have to start to really ask yourself, what is it that I want to get and what is it that I'm willing to provide? In order for you to understand what it is to provide, then you owe it to yourself, for your own peace, to understand the functionality of a man and respect the fact that you are not one. Meaning, like, it don't matter what you need and what you want and how you are. It's irrelevant. It is about, what does he consume? How does he consume it? What matters to him?
Absolutely.
From a macro level, like generalized, and men are not monolithic, but there are some principles that can apply. And until you can get down to the nugget of the man that you're planning to deal with, right? Like, do you have it to give? Or are you just trying to get a ring? Are you trying to have a wedding? Are you trying to have status? All those things are appealing. They're attractive. They're enticing. And I don't fault anybody for wanting it. But if you are really serious about having a long-term relationship, you have got to ask yourself for real, do I have the traits of being a wife? And have that very difficult, uncomfortable conversation with yourself. Are you a liability? Are you good with money? Right? Like,
whoa.
That part.
Major.
Message.
Right? For real.
You know what I'm saying? Like, am I a liability or am I an asset? Like, in real life, am I...
Important questions.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that there are some... And this is going to be a little bit hard, and this is going to be a generalized statement, and it probably isn't nice to say or fair to say, but there are some women who you want don't want you. And almost everybody can do more work to be more attractive.
Yeah.
Going to the gym, eating right, working on, just how you physically look, because if you understood men, then you'll understand the first barrier to break for connection is how he look when he looks at you, what he's looking at. Is he attracted to you? Yes, my mom. When he looked at you, he thought about, more than likely, about smashing or something like that. Something about, he just thought you looked good. And we need to get past the fact of whether that's offensive or not. Now, if he says it in a disrespectful way, then yeah, he got to go back in the water. He not ready. But you cannot be like, well, I just want a man to appreciate me because I'm smart and I make this amount of money. None of that matters to him. And the more you keep trying to make the things that matter to you matter to him, is more proof that you're projecting and you're not understanding. Which goes back to my point about why women are critical with men, is because they project. We are projectors. And you got to get that under control through self-mastery. You cannot talk to other people how you talk to yourself. It don't work like that. So a woman needs to understand how a man operates. So if I want a high value man, you know what I'm saying? And I believe that there was on tonight's conversation, I believe it was Kitty who said
Shout out Kitty, she from Dallas.
yeah, she's amazing. I love her. Where she was where a woman had like this beautiful woman. She had on this like this jean kind of jacket. What I'm assuming with some tape, but you could see like her boob, her under boob, and all of that. And she was talking about men being insecure. I forget what her question was exactly, but Kitty was like, "You need to understand that men are territorial. It's not a high value man in the world that's gonna look at you and think, there she go." There go my wife. He is going to look at you like you a good time, not a long time. We're not here for a long time.
Good time.
And so you can't want men to. One thing about men that I love is that y'all can be very consistent, right? Like y'all, many men. I won't say all, but many men know that when they look at something, I don't want her. Some men need post-nut clarity.
Yeah.
Some men do not. Sometimes post-nut clarity happens and he didn't think it was gonna happen. It's just, oops, my bad. I thought, I'm sorry. You know, you ain't, it turns out, you know. But, you know, when a man matures, you know, he may not need that. But sans all that, we cut all that out. A lot of men will look at a woman like that and he's not thinking, there is the mother of my kids.
Just being honest.
Yeah.
Just being blatant about it.
We just gotta talk about it. So
yeah.
if you want to be a wife for real, you need to understand the office of it. You have to understand the burden about it. You've got to come from there, and then you got to condition yourself. I recommend, whether a woman is married or not, if you are dissatisfied in your marriage or you're not married, work on self-mastery.
Yeah.
First. Don't even bother your husband till you start. I don't care if you do 100 things right. In your opinion, find out the 10 things that he says you ain't doing and master that. And then have a conversation.
Man, I can close this laptop right here, man. Listen, the last thing I want to ask you is for any of the men that are listening, that are looking, that have gone through some of the challenges that we've discussed, they're in a place with their loved one where they're not comfortable, they're not satisfied, they feel like they tried everything they could do. For those men that are listening, what do you want to impart to those men? Any type of advice? Obviously, I want them to become clients of yours. You know what I mean? I want them to come because I think they're more than convinced now that you're doing real work and it's not snake oil over here.
No.
If you could just send one message to them, any guy, you know what I mean? He doesn't have anybody in his life that's as like thoughtful and concise as you are. Like what? If you could be this is the first time he heard a woman speak in a way that he like, wow, I didn't know women like this existed. Like, what would you impart him with?
The first thing that I want to tell any man is the highest place that you can be is at the feet of God. There's no place higher than that. Get to the feet of the Father in a space of humility and let the Lord know that you are divorcing yourself from the independent spirit, that you don't need nobody, including him. You have got to get to the Father because he is the one who owns the operating manual around who you are, who he's designed you to be as a man, and specifically you when he knitted you in your mother's womb. He knows you inside and out, and you've got to get used to hearing his voice and hearing his commands so that you can navigate through this world, especially the unseen parts that consistently greet you and trip you up and throw you curveballs that you didn't see coming when you could potentially serve a God who knew it was around the corner and more than likely maybe even sent you that curveball for the purpose of grooming you. And that's the reason why Jesus Christ's walk was successful, because when he was set out to be crucified, he wasn't surprised. He wasn't shocked. He was in on it. He knew what the plan was because he consulted the Father and the Father consulted him, and he knew what his purpose was. He knew he wasn't here for a long time. He knew the pain that he had to endure, so much so that he asked the Father to take it away from him. But then he said, nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done. And he went ahead and he executed it. At any given point in time, his voice was enough that he could have commanded 10,000s and thousands, hundreds of thousands of angels to come at his side, and they would have annihilated every single person that put their finger on him. But he didn't utter not one mumbling word, for the simple fact that he was in on the plan through the wilderness process, that he was meant to be here to sacrifice and to succumb to death so that we could have life, because nobody took his life from him. He gave it up. He was always in on the plan. So sometimes the curveballs that you're receiving in life, they're not from the devil. They're not even from your mistakes. They're not even from generational curses. They're coming from the Father to groom you, to shape you, to mold you, to strengthen you. And if you go to the feet of the Father, he will let you in on the plan. If you can do that, then a lot of other things come into play, because what happens is when you become in an intimate relationship with God, that's when you go from servanthood to sonship. And when the son asks the father for something, the father provides. And what I'm hoping that in your sonship, what you would do is that you would ask the father for a mentor, because that's the very next thing that I believe that a man needs after a relationship with God is you need a mentor, preferably a man, ideally only a man. I do work with men because I believe that I'm graced to do so. I believe that who I am in the sphere of being a men's advocate is that I am the part where God will break protocol so that people can get something to drink. I am the water in the dry places, because there are a lot of men that don't have the patience, they don't have the stamina or the bandwidth to work with other men. There isn't just anybody else that becomes more frustrated with men than another man. People think that women don't have patience with men. No, most men don't have patience with men that they would deem a knucklehead. They be like, "Hey, yo, you're not even ready for me, bro. Like, my dude, like, you're not, I'm not even going to deal with you. I'm not going to deal with the disrespect." They will leave. And a lot of these men remain vacant vessels. So I believe that in this short time span, I'm just here to provide some help. I don't want to be a man's first go-to, but I will be there for you. But my hope is that you find another man. If not, I'm happy to be there for you in the capacity of awareness and shaping, but I cannot help you to be a man. I don't have that access. That's not where I'm anointed. And from there, once you get your sonship and you have your mentorship, more things become clear. Those parts are the parts where it's similar to when God told Adam, name this animal, name this tree, name this plant. So I can't name those for you. That's what the sonship provides with you and God. Those are things that you don't have access to. You don't have access yet to your dominion as a man because you're not in sonship with God. So that's what I would say that men could work on. I'm sorry. No.
Wow. Listen, man. That was beautiful.
I give God glory.
Yeah.
I don't give myself any credit. This is all God. God loves you. When people ask me questions like, why do you work with men? Because men matter to God, and I love the Lord. And that's just as simple as it gets. He cares about you. He loves you. He wants to be in right relationship with you. He's not. I used to think that God was mean. I didn't like God for years. I was born and raised as a Christian. And for a long time, I resented the heck out of him. I was like, yo, you are cruel.
Right.
Anybody who could sit there and tell the devil, have you considered my servant Job? You are not a friend of mine. Don't tell no devil to consider me not know how.
Right.
I ain't signed up for that. I signed up for the soft girl life.
Right.
But when I came into understanding God's grace, his mercy, his ways are not my ways, and he's higher. And I surrendered and I submitted to God, and I fell in love with him in a brand new way, in such a way where I've experienced some harsh disappointments that literally had me like in tears, right? Soul and my heart gripped. And my first thing that I could say is, though you slay me, yet will I trust you. Because I already know what it feels like to not trust God, to the point where I came to the end of myself and I said, well, I can't trust nobody else, so I gotta trust you.
Right.
I want that. I want every man to have that experience, to have like that real grit conversation with God and tell him, I hate you. I don't like you. Where are you? And just be so raw so that he can arrest your attention and show up for you. I want men to have more encounters with God. Our world is a lot safer when you guys are nestled in the bosom and the love of the Father. You know what I'm saying? Because when you understand that experience, that encounter, that love, when you understand his grace, when you understand even the feminine aspects of God, which some people will say is the Holy Spirit, and the masculine part of it is Yahweh, and the sonship is Jesus, and this whole entire image of family shows you how important marriage is to God.
Yeah.
So for men who want marriage, well, the Bible begins with a marriage and the Bible ends with a marriage. He wants that for you. But if you're not experiencing those things, if you're not experiencing wealth accumulation, if you're not experiencing abundant life, if you're not happy, if your emotions are all over the place, if you're miserable and you're sad, that void is not going to get filled with no kitty, and it's not going to get filled with $1. It's not going to get filled because you in the gym pumping iron.
Yeah.
None of those things is going to fill you. The only thing that's going to fill your cup is a relationship with the Father, and that's what I want for you.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Just glory to God.
Listen, you said the highest place you could be is at the feet of God.
That's the highest place.
Listen. Jesus Christ.
It's the highest.
This was amazing.
Thank you.
Let me tell you something. If Kamala was talking like this, I would have voted for her.
Right.
I did not vote, but I was telling people the reason why I ain't vote. And you said something earlier over there that is like so true. It's like I'm looking at it like real macro. Like when they speak, I'm not feeling convicted. I just don't feel it. You know what I mean? And people can say what they want. All your argument, your perspective is valid. You know what I mean? But for me, like,
something was artificial.
Yeah, I just wasn't attracted to the spirit. Like for me to follow, like it's not hard to see leadership in people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I see leadership in you when you speak, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, like when you speak, it's just like, wow, like shout out to your child for being fortunate enough.
She's dope.
You know what I mean?
This is my dope little baby girl.
Listen, shout out to her for being fortunate enough to have you as a mom. You know what I mean? And it's like, obviously you were selected to be her mother. Obviously, you worthy to be her mother. But it's, it's a collaboration. You know what I mean? And you're a dope person.
Thank you.
I would direct all traffic of women to come and listen to you. You know what I mean? It's so ironic that like your ministry is with the men, at least today, but it's like everybody needs to be listening to you though.
I appreciate that. So
yeah.
Super flattered.
No, you're tight. You're dope as fuck, for real. You're tight.
Literally all glory goes to God, for real, for real. I'm just a vessel. Before I got here, I said, Father, I don't want to say anything from my intellect. Just speak through me. I just want people to love you. I want people to run back to you. That's what we're missing.
Yeah.
In our world. We've taken God out of so much. We've taken God out of marriage. We've taken God out of schools. We've taken God out of our health. Like everything about everything and anything in the Bible is very applicable to what we was talking about earlier. We were saying like, there are topics that it don't matter what year, what generation, what century we're in, it applies. Mm-hmm. That's how I feel about
it applies.
It applies. That's how I feel about the word of God. I feel like, God knows what he's doing. He knows, and that's what we're missing. We're really just missing the voice of our Father. So I don't think it's ironic that systemically we, society strategically removed the men out of the household. Mm-hmm. Because now we're 100% vulnerable. I don't think it's not a mistake. Mm-hmm. It started from us moving God's, because he is the Father. Mm-hmm. That's the first man that we moved out of the way was God. The second one was the natural man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like all this is by design. So when we come back, if we have a movement of men coming at the feet of the Father, I promise you, women and children will look different. We already see it in other religious sectors.
Oh, yeah.
When men are rooted and grounded and have it, the landscape of family is different. The structure, the intergenerational wealth is apparent. So for people who are segregated from that, the answer is not in a woman submitting. The answer is not in a woman putting on more clothes. Those things are superficial. The answer is not women not doing OnlyFans.
Yeah.
That's superficial.
Those beliefs. We got to get to the root of this shit. Come on.
We got to get to the root. Any woman who is out of place is connected to a man who's not in his place. That's what. Go ahead and read Hosea chapter 4 verses 13 to 14 for yourself and see what the Spirit of the Lord has to say about men and their leadership and why women behave the way that they behave.
Yeah,
it's a game changer.
Yeah,
and I say that I hope that women don't weaponize that. I hope women don't look at that and say, "See, it's your fault that we're doing this." I hope what women receive from that is the burden, and that is on men. There's a burden. There is a blessing and a birthright in being a husband. There's not a woman in town who would want to be responsible for anybody else's conduct because she wanted a moment of being human and like being human in error. It's not a woman in town. Women don't want that. We evade it's like it's known to joke about that. Women evade accountability, right? So I hope that women have compassion, knowing that that the fate of humanity resides on a man walking a sacrificed life. That's not something to play with.
Yeah.
That's why I said, when you asked me if I think it's a man's fault, I said, for me, I'm sympathetic.
Right.
But God.
Yeah.
But God, there's accountability.
Listen, man, before we get out of here, you already know youth is temporary, but health is forever. And the mantra, the outro, the religion of this brand, whenever I'm working, I will remember that done is better than perfect. And if I'm satisfied with my work, then that means that I'm living in my purpose. This is a Halfway Up podcast. The Queen said everything she needed to say. Please, guys, you know, when you get paid, you invest your money into something every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks. Every time you get paid, the money goes somewhere. You know what you're going through. You have the conversations with your homies. You have the conversation with your mom, your sister. You get the advice. You didn't explore all the free channels. You get what I'm saying? You'd explore them all. And shout out to your village being there. I'm glad that you got one. But sometimes we got to elevate things and take things to another level. You know what I mean? Invest your money wisely and just see. Just see. Just try it. If it don't work, then you don't got to spend the money no more. You know what I mean?
100%.
But just try. With that being said, please tell people where they can follow you, please, so they can support you.
So I'm grown, y'all. I'm so grown that I can only keep up with one social media platform.
Just give us that one.
Instagram. Ask Miss Cassandra. Even though I'm on a whole bunch of them, but that's where the one where you could reach out to me. So that's AskMSCassandra on Instagram. That's the best way to find me.
We out.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Yeah. No, you tight.
Thank you.
You tight.